Chapter 1. Poplar Fruit waved at the students in the elevator and declined their offers to send him off. He held the room card and staggered back to his room. On the last night of the graduation trip, everyone drank a lot due to the sadness in their hearts. Poplar Fruit was the same. He usually had a low alcohol tolerance, but today, he was forced to drink 4 bottles of beer. Now, he was walking like he was stepping on cotton. His footsteps were low and high, and his consciousness was almost blurred. "I'm almost at my room. I can't, I'm going to throw up." Poplar Fruit struggled to speed up. When he was about to reach the door, Poplar Fruit suddenly tripped and fell on a warm and soft body. "Smells good." Poplar Fruit looked up and saw a pretty face with messy hair and rosy cheeks. Poplar Fruit knew this woman. She was the white-collar beauty who sat across from him on the train. Her surname was Wu, but he couldn't remember her name. He only remembered that she didn't like to talk and was as cold as an iceberg. Miss Wu, wake up." Poplar Fruit shook her shoulder. "You're lying in front of my room." "Where is your room?" "I'll take you back." Wu Yu's eyes opened slightly and curved into a blurry crescent. Her upper teeth gently bit her lower lip. N-word omitted. It was very seductive. Unfortunately, Poplar Fruit was in a trance and didn't see this seductive, N-word omitted. "Don't take me back. Take me in and hide." Wu Yu's voice was trembling as if she was enduring something. "Okay, then tonight you sleep on my bed and I'll sleep on the sofa." Poplar Fruit felt his stomach churning. He didn't have time to think about it. He opened the door, carried Wu Yu in, and gently placed her on the bed. Poplar Fruit took off her high heels and put Wu Yu's clothes under the blanket. He also pulled up the blanket and considerately covered Wu Yu's shoulders. He didn't notice that a pair of beautiful sparkling eyes were watching his gentle movements. Her cold eyes seemed to have melted a lot. Ugh! Poplar Fruit could no longer suppress the churning liquid in his stomach. He covered his mouth and rushed to the bathroom. Poplar Fruit vomited in the toilet like the last straw that broke the camel's back. Poplar Fruit finally couldn't suppress the alcohol. He only felt that the world was spinning. He hugged the toilet bowl full of filth and fell asleep. He didn't feel the stench. After an unknown amount of time, Poplar Fruit stood up in a daze. He smelled his clothes and fanned his right palm in front of his nose in disgust. He quickly stripped himself naked and threw his clothes into the bathtub. He had already blacked out. There was a beautiful woman lying on the bed, and he said that he would sleep on the sofa tonight. He had completely forgotten everything that had happened before. There was only a trace of consciousness left in his mind, and that was to go back to bed and sleep. Poplar Fruit climbed onto the bed without wearing anything and fell into a deep sleep. The night was quiet. Only the soft breathing of 2 people could be heard in the room. If it was only like this until dawn, the trajectory of the world would still be so dull and boring. Nothing would happen after that. However, things in the world were so strange. Although the drug in Wu Yu's body was a little slow, it still took effect. A thin and weak arm stretched out from under the blanket and hooked around Yonggua's neck. Without any explanation, the arm pulled. N-words are omitted here. Poplar Fruit was first, N-word omitted. Then, N-word omitted. The 2 people who were immersed in joy didn't notice that the light in the room was distorted. A door was broken open out of thin air, and 2 people walked out. In fact, they couldn't be called people. They were actually floating in the air, stepping on white clouds. The one who looked older had a robe draped over his body. His hair and beard were white, and there was a light of wisdom between his brows. The other one was wearing armor and a crown of the golden-winged crow. He held a golden pagoda in his left hand. His body was tall and sturdy. His eyes were sharp and his aura was threatening. "General Li Jing, we haven't come to the lower realm for a long time." The older one stroked his beard and sighed. It turned out that this general-like person was the famous pagoda-bearing Heavenly King Li Jing. He nodded and said, "Yes, in recent years, the spiritual energy in the lower realm has been scarce. In addition, the heavenly rules have become stricter. No one is willing to come down. A day in the heavens is a year on the earth. We haven't come down for a few years. I don't know how many thousands of years have passed on the earth. It seems to have changed a lot. The two people didn't seem to have seen the good things about poplar fruit and Wu Yu. No matter how big the changes are, it's not suitable for us to stay for long when the spiritual energy is exhausted. It's only been a while, but I feel that a lot of spiritual energy in my body has been lost. If it wasn't for sending the princess down, I really wouldn't want to come down. Poor Her Highness the Princess. She accidentally violated the heavenly law and has to suffer a lifetime of punishment in this lower realm. Although we can bring her back in a few months, she has to suffer in this barren land for over 100 years. It's really hard on Her Highness the Princess. Wan Chuxing, do you have any way to help the princess? Wan Chuxing's long beard fluttered in the wind. He had a sage-like appearance and said, "The princess is usually so kind and treats everyone very well. Naturally, I have to think of a way. It's just that the heavenly rules have too many restrictions." "That's right, we can't interfere too much in the lower realm. Otherwise, I'll use 60 years of my power to leave some immortal spiritual energy for the princess." No, immortal spiritual energy doesn't belong to the energy of the lower realm. It will trigger the heavenly rules. Wan Chuxing shook his head. His eyes suddenly lit up and said, "I have an idea. Since we can't directly help the princess, we can help her father in the lower realm. This child's temperament is not bad. It's just that he's not strong enough. If he's strong enough, he can protect the princess." As expected of Wan Chuxing, "You came up with such a good idea." "Haha, then I'll give a part of my power to this young man." "No, your power is too obvious and might affect the lower realm. This will still attract the attention of the heavenly rules. You can't be too shocking." Wan Chuxing reached out his left hand and stopped Pagoda Heavenly King Li Jing. "Then what should we do? I can make him smart and give him a photographic memory." This kind of change can still be tolerated by the heavenly rules and the secular world. Wan Chuxing waved his sleeve and a colorful light flashed into Poplar Fruit's head and gradually disappeared. Pagoda Heavenly King Li Jing pondered for a bit and said, "Then I can also give him a Taoist technique in the mortal world. This way, he and the princess can both cultivate. But I can't let him get it so easily. He can only get this technique if he is determined to protect the princess." He made a mudra with his right hand and pointed at the pagoda in his left hand. A light floated out of the pagoda and disappeared into Poplar Fruit's head without stopping. His mudra changed again and a small door opened at the top of the pagoda. A much smaller figure came out and bowed slightly to the two before floating to Wu Yu's abdomen. "It's almost time. We should go," Wan Chuxing said. Pagoda Heavenly King Li Jing nodded and the two walked into the door floating in the void. Another light and shadow twisted and the room returned to its original state. The Wu Mountain was still there and the rain and clouds were still there as if nothing had happened. More than an hour later, the battle finally died down, N-words omitted here. With a sound, N-words omitted here, the room returned to silence. After a long time, Wu Yu opened her eyes. Right now, she looked like, omitting the N-word, Yonggua. Her beautiful hair spread over Yonggua's chest. In this quiet and dark room, she didn't say anything, but her beautiful eyes were no longer spirited, as if she was thinking about something in the dim light. Poplar Fruit was still in a drunken dream. He dreamt that he was with his girlfriend for the first time. He didn't know what his girlfriend said or did that made him love her so much. In the dream, the scenes changed very quickly. One moment, he was walking on a green land with a beautiful woman, and the next moment, his girlfriend inexplicably wanted to break up with him. His mood suddenly fell into an abyss, and he chased after his girlfriend's train, but he was powerless to stop it. Poplar Fruit was struggling in the dream. In reality, he was also frowning and muttering to himself, "Xiaoran, don't leave me, Xiaoran." Wu Yu couldn't get up and reached out to touch Poplar Fruit's face. But in the end, she didn't put her hand down. After a while, a long sigh came from the dark night. Wu Yu withdrew her hand. She began to fumble for her clothes, but they were kicked off and rolled to the ground in the madness. Wu Yu just touched the ground. Under the friction, she felt a force on her thigh. Her legs went soft and she knelt on the ground. At this time, the strong Wu Yu could no longer hold back the tears in her eyes. Bean-sized teardrops rolled out of her beautiful eyes, streaking across her pretty cheeks and falling to the ground. The sound of sobbing didn't last long. Wu Yu stubbornly bit her lower lip. Her teeth left a bright red mark on it and she didn't let herself cry. She raised her left hand, wiped away her tears, and put on her clothes. After tidying up for a long time, Wu Yu used the weak light of the phone to erase the traces of her existence in the room. Although it was extremely difficult for her to move, she still resolutely picked up her belongings and the cut sheets and staggered to the door. Just at the moment when she held the door handle, Wu Yu stopped. She hesitated for a moment, turned back, picked up Poplar Fruit's phone on the table, and wrote down Poplar Fruit's number. The door opened and closed gently. The beauty was gone. Only a little bit of fragrance remained, but it dissipated with the air conditioner running. That night, a lot of things happened in Poplar Fruit's room, but it also seemed like nothing had happened. Everything seemed to have suddenly deviated from the track, but returned to the starting point before it was discovered. However, the butterfly wings in the Amazon jungle had already flapped. Would Poplar Fruit's life continue as he expected? When Yang Guo woke up, he would forget about Wu Yu's appearance that night because of the drunken stupor and the hurried journey back. He would forget about the short-lived marriage that they had, and forget about the karma that he had sowed by summoning clouds and rain tonight. However, the poplar fruit that woke up was no longer the him of the past. Because there was a fairy in heaven who had fallen to the mortal world, his fate was already tightly connected to his. Chapter 2. Outside the ward, Poplar Fruit was in a very bad state. His hair was messy, his eyes were bloodshot, and his suit jacket was nowhere to be seen. The top half of his white shirt was unbuttoned, and his tie was hanging loosely on his neck. He had been standing there all night without moving half a step. The nurses couldn't persuade him to move. Poplar Fruit looked at the baby sleeping on the small bed through the glass window, and his heart was filled with mixed feelings. Things had to go back to yesterday afternoon. At that time, Yang Guo was greeting foreign customers in the company. A phone call broke his peaceful life. The call was from a woman named Wu Yu. She said that his child was about to be born and asked him to come over quickly. What a joke. Poplar Fruit hadn't even broken through the last barrier of a girlfriend. He was still a virgin. How could he have a child? Poplar Fruit thought it was a legendary scam and was about to hang up the phone. But the woman's explanation on the phone sent Poplar Fruit into an ice cave. On the last night of the graduation trip, Poplar Fruit had sex with her. The memories of 10 months ago, which had been blacked out because of drunkenness, flooded back like a tide. Poplar Fruit remembered the white-collared beauty in front of the door. He remembered Miss Wu, who he helped into the bed but disappeared the next day. He remembered the slight discomfort in his lower body when he woke up the next day. Because the examination found that the fetal position was abnormal, Wu Yu was now in a very serious situation of dystocia. The hospital required a family member to be present. A life was at stake. Poplar Fruit didn't have time to ask for details. He quickly asked for leave from the manager, stopped a taxi, and rushed to the hospital. Fortunately, Wu Yu and Poplar Fruit were in the same city. It didn't take long for them to arrive. When Poplar Fruit ran to the obstetrics and gynecology department, the situation was very urgent. Wu Yu only said a few words before she was pushed into the delivery room. You are the only man I've ever had. If I give birth to the child smoothly, then I'll pretend that nothing happened today. If I really can't come out, you have to promise me that you'll take good care of our child. It was as if he was sleepwalking. Poplar Fruit was called to the hospital in a daze, and then he saw Wu Yu in a daze, and this was the last time he saw her. After Wu Yu was pushed into the delivery room, she never came out again. Poplar Fruit still remembered that when the nurse carried his daughter out, he looked at his daughter's wrinkled little face and his lips trembled slightly. In a trance, he actually felt a subtle connection between his blood vessels. This feeling was very mysterious. He couldn't tell others about it, but it was very clear. There was a voice in his heart that was shouting, "This is my child. That's right, this must be my child." That night, Poplar Fruit stood outside and looked at his daughter through the glass window until the morning sun filled the corridor of the hospital. His phone rang. Poplar Fruit hurriedly took out his phone from his trouser pocket and looked at the screen. It was the manager. "Hello, cough cough." Poplar Fruit, who hadn't drunk a drop of water all night, said in a hoarse voice, "Manager, what's the matter?" "Poplar Fruit? What's wrong with your voice? Why didn't you come to work today?" The manager's caring voice came from the receiver. Poplar Fruit hesitated. It seemed that he couldn't get away today. He said, "Manager, I haven't dealt with the family matters properly. I was so busy that I forgot. I was thinking, can I take another day off today? Something big happened at home? Okay, you take care of it today. Let me see. The day after tomorrow is the May Day holiday. Anyway, there aren't many things to do before the holiday. You don't have to come tomorrow. You can take care of your family matters. Don't hide anything in your heart. If you need help, just tell me." The manager's voice was very straightforward. Poplar Fruit was touched and thanked him again and again. Since he started working, the manager had taken good care of him. Of course, this had something to do with Poplar Fruit's outstanding ability in the foreign trade business. For a general like him, the manager would try his best to satisfy such a simple request like taking a few days off. Head nurse Jiang, who was on duty, came out. She looked at the big boy and sighed in her heart. She walked over and said, "Little Yang, you can't just stand there like this. The child still needs you to take care of. Don't tire yourself out." "Sigh, I have a child out of nowhere. I don't know what to do." Poplar Fruit smiled bitterly. "Wu Yu is an orphan. She's quiet and very kind. She said the child is yours, so she definitely didn't lie to you. Usually, she came for checkups alone. We used to say that there was a heartless person who abandoned both mother and daughter. Now that you don't know, I don't blame you. But Wu Yu is gone. You are the child's only family. You have to take responsibility." Head nurse Jiang hesitated for a moment and added, "If you don't believe me, our hospital can do a DNA test for you." Poplar Fruit glanced at his daughter through the window. The feeling of passing down his bloodline still lingered in his heart. He shook his head. "No need. I believe this is my daughter. Since she was born, I will take responsibility until the end." He sighed. "To be honest, I'm still in a daze. I'm not prepared for anything. Wu Yu left after just meeting me. I don't know what to do. Go and deal with Wu Yu's funeral today. I'll ask the nurse to take care of the child for you. There are other mothers in the hospital. They can help feed the child, but this won't last long. You still have to be prepared to be both a father and a mother." Poplar Fruit nodded solemnly and followed head nurse Jiang to go through the procedures. The procedures were very complicated. After a while, it was already close to noon. Poplar Fruit was tired and hungry. He hadn't eaten since last night. Holding Wu Yu's belongings in his hand, he looked at his watch and said to head nurse Jiang, "Auntie Jiang, it's been hard on you. You've been working with me for half a day. Look, it's already lunchtime. Let me treat you to a meal." Head nurse Jiang waved her hand and said, "It's okay. This is our responsibility. There's no need for a meal." Poplar Fruit didn't let that happen. He said, "How can I do that? You're already off work and you're still helping me. I have to treat you to a meal. Also, I want to ask you how to take care of my daughter." Head nurse Jiang hesitated for a moment and had to agree. "It's just a meal. Something simple will do. Otherwise, it'll be against the rules." Poplar Fruit took head nurse Jiang to a small restaurant near the hospital. He ordered a few dishes and told the boss to hurry up and serve them. He was starving. Poplar Fruit poured a cup of tea for head nurse Jiang. Before the dishes were served, he started chatting with her. "Auntie Jiang, you might not know about my situation, but this is how Wu Yu and I met." After hearing Poplar Fruit's story, head nurse Jiang sighed. "Sigh, I think your relationship is really bizarre. You've only met once, and you already have a child. Let me tell you about Wu Yu. She's also a pitiful person. It turned out that when Wu Yu was 5 years old, there was an accident at home. Her parents died, and she grew up with her grandmother. When she was 15, her grandmother also passed away. She was the only one left in the family. Poplar Fruit didn't feel good. It was like he was looking at a delicate girl, alone in the house, facing the darkness of the night. When her parents passed away, she was still young and did not feel much about it. However, when her grandmother passed away, it must have been a huge blow to her. It felt as if the whole world had abandoned her and left her. He didn't know how she'd survived the past 10 months. She came to the hospital for a checkup with a big belly, and how she'd endured the strange looks from people around her. If she'd contacted Poplar Fruit, with him by her side, would she not have had a difficult labor? Then maybe she wouldn't have passed away like her parents, leaving the child behind and going to another world. Poplar Fruit didn't dare think about it. He didn't know what he would have done if Wu Yu had told him from the start. Because Poplar Fruit still had a girlfriend. Although it was a long-distance relationship, Poplar Fruit really loved her. Would he give up his girlfriend of 4 years and choose Wu Yu, who he'd only met once? The answer was probably no. Poplar Fruit didn't know what to do now. He still didn't dare to tell his girlfriend that he had a child with another woman. Poplar Fruit was very afraid. He was worried that he couldn't take it back after saying it. But could he hide it for a while? Could he hide it for a lifetime? Poplar Fruit could foresee that the appearance of this child would mess up his life. But Poplar Fruit couldn't be so cruel to send her to the orphanage. Poplar Fruit clearly remembered that when the nurse handed his daughter to him, the joy that surged from his heart was something he had never felt before in his life. That ugly little life seemed to be the most beautiful thing in the world. How could he be so heartless as to hand her over to someone else? The dishes were quickly served. Poplar Fruit called out and wolfed down the rice. He was so hungry that he picked up a lot of food with his chopsticks. Head nurse Jiang put down her chopsticks, handed him a glass of water, and said, "Eat slowly. It's not easy for you to digest." "Oh." Poplar Fruit swallowed the rice in his mouth with difficulty and said, "Auntie Jiang, I'm so sorry. I haven't eaten for almost a day. I'm really hungry. My table manners are a bit ugly. Don't just watch me eat. Try this braised fish too." Okay. Young people don't eat like this. This is called having an appetite. Haha. Head nurse Jiang also picked up her chopsticks. After eating for more than 10 minutes, Poplar Fruit felt a bit better. He also slowed down his eating speed. While eating, he asked head nurse Jiang about her experience in taking care of babies. "There are a lot of things to prepare, but you don't have to buy any more. In fact, Wu Yu asked me before. It's already prepared in her room. The main problem now is that Wu Yu is gone. The child has no mother to feed. Although I can ask the nurse to help find another mother to feed the child, this is not a long-term solution. You have to buy some milk powder." "Okay, I'll go to the supermarket later." "No, don't go to the supermarket. I can tell that you haven't bought milk powder before. A lot of milk powder in the supermarket is for adults. Children can't bear it. It's best to go to a special baby store. Ask the staff and choose the most suitable one for newborn children. Is there a need to pay attention to this?" Poplar Fruit scratched his head and said embarrassedly, "It's important. A newborn baby's stomach is relatively small. In the beginning, you have to feed it every 1 or 2 hours. Don't think it's troublesome. Raising a child is troublesome. Just talking about the certificate, you have to think of a name for the baby in the next few days. In a few days, you have to apply for a birth certificate for the baby. After that, you have to apply for a child's vaccination certificate, which will be used for the baby's vaccination in the future. When you're free, you have to apply for a household registration. You have to go to the police station to register the baby." Poplar Fruit's head was about to explode. He frowned and said, "It's so troublesome." Head nurse Jiang looked at him and shook her head. The person in front of her had become a father without any precautions. How could he understand the hardships of being a parent? She couldn't say anything and could only comfort him. "Don't be afraid. There will be a way when the time comes. Take it slow. Chapter 3. Beep Beep. The bus kept changing lanes on the road. The driver honked the horn and scolded the private car in front of him for not moving fast enough. The passengers in the bus were sitting and playing with their phones, but the ones standing were swaying left and right. Their faces were pale as they gripped the railing tightly. The grumpy ones cursed from time to time. Standing in the middle of the bus, Poplar Fruit held the tab on his head with one hand and Wu Yu's belongings with the other. He looked out the window blankly, turning a deaf ear to what was happening in and outside the bus. He was going to Wu Yu's place to see if there were any baby items he needed for the next few days. Yongguo's feelings were complicated. He felt like he was dreaming. Wu Yu was very cold in his impression. At that time, they didn't communicate much on the train. The two of them didn't even speak more than 20 sentences. Yet, she had sex with him unconsciously and even had a child with him. It was said that a child was the product of love, but did he and Wu Yu ever have love? Wu Yu's heart was pounding. Poplar Fruit was looking forward to Wu Yu's boudoir. For a girl like Wu Yu who had suffered the loss of her family since she was young, her iceberg side might just be a ribbon that tightly wrapped her fragile heart. She lost her family and couldn't escape the fate of a beautiful woman. But Poplar Fruit wanted to know how Wu Yu had lived all these years. Holding the address given by the hospital, Poplar Fruit came to the door of Wu Yu's rented house. He took out the key from the bag and hesitated for a moment before opening the door and walking in. Opening the door, Poplar Fruit saw a sea of pink. The slippers were pink, the tablecloth was pink, the curtains were pink, the sheets and quilt were pink. This was a girl's room. Poplar Fruit found it hard to believe. Wu Yu was very mature and cold outside, but in private, she was like a child. Half of the small bed was occupied by a huge plush bear pillow. Poplar Fruit had read a psychology book before. It said that people who liked to sleep with stuffed animals felt insecure. Poplar Fruit now felt that this sentence was a complete psychological portrayal of Wu Yu. There were no male slippers in the shoe cabinet. It seemed that the owner had never had a male guest before. Poplar Fruit had to change into a pair of female slippers. The room was very tidy, but also very monotonous. There was only a bed, a desk, and a dining table. There was a covered laptop on the desk, and a row of books were stacked against the wall. Some of the books were about pregnant mothers and babies, and there were bookmarks on them. Poplar Fruit picked up one of the books and saw that there were a lot of notes in the book. There were two baskets on the dining table. One contained the owner's tableware, and the other contained a lot of baby utensils, bottles, nipples, bowls, and spoons. They were all clean, and the sunlight slowly refracted through the window, spreading out a little bit of light. He hadn't noticed it before, but it turned out that there was a baby bed placed against the wall at the foot of the bed. The wood of the guardrail was very smooth, and the inside of the bed was surrounded by a thin cushion. Even the small pillows were all adorned with cute Winnie the Pooh pictures. There were a few sets of baby clothes stacked next to the quilt. The fabric was very delicate, and even the edges didn't feel rough. It could be seen that Wu Yu had put in a lot of effort. She was full of joy and looked forward to the birth of the baby. She had prepared almost everything for the baby and was ready to welcome the arrival of a new life. However, she didn't make it. She didn't see the baby before she went to another world. Poplar Fruit looked at the room full of baby products. His nose was sour, and his heart was filled with panic. Poplar Fruit sat in front of the desk and opened the drawer. In addition to some receipts and lists, there were a few thick hardcover notebooks. He pulled out the topmost notebook, turned on the lamp on the table, and opened the first page. This was Wu Yu's diary. Poplar Fruit understood when he saw the date of April 3, 2010. Poplar Fruit read very quickly, flipping through the pages every few seconds. It wasn't that he didn't read carefully. On the contrary, Poplar Fruit read very carefully, word by word. Since he came back from his graduation trip last year, Poplar Fruit found that his mind had become very clear, and he was no longer as bad as before. It was as if he had been reborn overnight, and he had the mysterious ability of eidetic memory. This was also the secret of Poplar Fruit becoming the backbone of the company as soon as he graduated. He knew all the information of the company and even the company's competitors by heart. Coupled with his excellent English ability, no one could stop him. Poplar Fruit quickly saw the page of the diary where they had sex. Today's company trip, the chairman's son actually drugged the wine. I didn't expect that I would still fall for it. I should have known that this person wouldn't be so ungrateful. I didn't expect that I would lose my virginity to a student after 25 years. Under such circumstances, I can't blame him. He didn't do it on purpose. I was careless. He was very gentle and considerate. He covered me with the quilt, just like my father when I was young. He also called a girl's name in his dream. Was it his girlfriend? It seems that he loves his girlfriend very much. Don't worry, I, Wu Yu, won't destroy other people's happiness. Let me take responsibility for this mistake alone. Goodbye, Poplar Fruit. What a strange name. So that's how she left at that time. Poplar Fruit scratched his head and smiled bitterly in his heart. But I'm still in the dark. Poplar Fruit continued reading. He saw Wu Yu's resignation, her being ostracized when she applied for a job again, and her shock and struggle when she found out that she was pregnant 2 months later. I went for an interview today. When I came back, I retched so badly. I don't know what I ate to make my stomach hurt. I've been so busy these days. I must rest well. Wu Yu, you can't tire yourself out. Today, I suddenly remembered that my period hasn't come for 2 months. I went for a checkup, and the doctor said that I'm more than 2 months pregnant. How could this be? I'm pregnant just because of that accident? What should I do? I didn't sleep last night. I don't want to abort the child. After all, it's a life. It's my child. But I'm so scared. Can I do it alone? Should I talk to Poplar Fruit? Is it good to destroy other people's happiness for your own? No, Wu Yu, you can't be such a villain and a third party. You have to believe in yourself. You can take care of yourself for more than 10 years. Now, it's just a child. You can definitely do it. Beauty Wu Yu, fighting. Poplar Fruit's eyes were a little wet. He didn't dare to continue watching. He felt that his conscience was condemning him. He had committed a sin, but a girl had secretly shouldered it and suffered all kinds of torture. Yet, he was living happily in his own world. It's time for a prenatal checkup again. Baby, how did you grow so big? Look at Mommy's belly. It's like a big rubber ball. Hee hee. Boo-hoo, baby, you're so bad. Mommy's face has some black spots. I've become so ugly. Tell Mommy what to do. I don't even dare to go out. Baby, Mommy's heart is so sad. I want to eat pickled cucumbers at night, but no one helps me buy them. Mommy really wants to cry. Other mothers have family members to take care of them when they're pregnant. Mommy has been doing everything alone for so long. Today, I almost fell while washing clothes. Mommy is so scared. Today, baby moved for the first time. You kicked Mommy's stomach. Mommy is so happy. You must be an angel sent to Mommy by God. With you around, Mommy isn't afraid of anything. With you around, Mommy will definitely persevere. You've become so fat. Baby, do you think Mommy can still be as beautiful as before after giving birth to you? What? You think you can? Baby, you know Mommy too well. Mommy will definitely become a great beauty again. Looking at the time, baby, you're about to be born. Mommy will definitely endure the pain and give birth to you smoothly. Mommy can't wait any longer. Thinking about how small you are in Mommy's arms, my heart is about to melt. Baby, hurry up and come into Mommy's arms. Mwah. Hee hee. The date of the last diary entry was the day before yesterday. It was April 26, 2011. Poplar Fruit flipped through the diary and seemed to touch the most real Wu Yu. She was a girl as pure as a snow lotus. She was pregnant with a new life that was sleeping soundly in the hospital with the love that she yearned for the most. Poplar Fruit seemed to be able to feel that Wu Yu was lying on her side on the bed with a bare pillow. Her head was leaning on it, and her big eyes were filled with a sweet smile. Her whole body was blooming with the radiance of motherhood. Poplar Fruit sighed in his heart. He remembered Wu Yu's last words before she was pushed into the delivery room. "You have to promise me that you will take good care of our child." This was a heavy trust and also a heavy responsibility. Poplar Fruit was a little hesitant before. He was worried that his life would be messed up, worried that he couldn't be a competent father, worried that he couldn't stand the strange looks of others. But after reading Wu Yu's diary, Poplar Fruit really wanted to slap himself. Was he still a man? A weak woman dared to carry a family on her own. He didn't even dare to raise his own child? Poplar Fruit secretly swore in his heart. He also promised Wu Yu, who might be watching him from heaven. "Wu Yu, you can rest assured. I will take good care of the baby. I will let her grow up happily. I will love her and take care of her. I will let her be the happiest baby in the world." As soon as he made the vow, Poplar Fruit felt a shock in his heart. It was as if a part of his mind was broken. Suddenly, a lot of unfamiliar information emerged. Zhang Sonfeng's internal martial arts? Poplar Fruit felt that his brain, which had become very smart, was not enough to understand. He thought to himself, could it be that Wu Yu heard my sincerity and gave it to me? He felt that this was a little ridiculous, but this kind of thing was really too mysterious. Poplar Fruit was puzzled. Since he couldn't figure it out, he might as well not think about it. Poplar Fruit stood up. It looked like it really was a martial arts technique. Poplar Fruit was a little happy about this. As long as one was a good Chinese man, who didn't know martial arts. However, it was getting late. Poplar Fruit still had to go back to his place. So he found a luggage bag and packed Wu Yu's diary, some baby items that should be useful, and 2 sets of clothes. He couldn't take too many things at once. As for the rest, he could only pack it up next time. Chapter 4. Back at the rented house, Poplar Fruit took a shower first. He didn't close his eyes all night and was almost nervous all day. Now that he relaxed a little, he felt sleepy. After coming out, he changed into casual clothes. Poplar Fruit felt a little dizzy, so he sat on the ground against the bed, his head touching the soft mattress, and looked up at the ceiling. Poplar Fruit comforted himself. Maybe I should sleep for a while. It should be okay. Exhausted, Poplar Fruit couldn't open his eyelids as soon as he closed them, and soon fell into a deep sleep. Suddenly, Poplar Fruit felt a burst of palpitations, as if something had happened. He hurriedly opened his eyes and looked around. It was quiet. Nothing had happened. Poplar Fruit felt that he had been a little strange these days. He had all kinds of strange feelings. He raised his left hand to look at his watch. He hadn't slept for 10 minutes. Poplar Fruit shook his head. Forget it, I won't sleep. I'm restless. I'll pack up and go to the hospital. Poplar Fruit took out a few diaries from the luggage bag and put them on his desk. He looked at them and felt that the position was not good. He locked them in the drawer. Poplar Fruit packed up 1 or 2 of his own clothes and coats. In the end, he took out his bank card from a small box in the closet and put it in his wallet. After packing up, young Luo walked out of the door. Just out of the community, Poplar Fruit saw a baby store across the street. He hadn't noticed it before. He remembered head nurse Zhang's instructions and walked in. "Sir, what can I do for you?" The shop assistant was very enthusiastic. "Is there any milk powder for newborn babies here?" "Yes, this row is filled with milk powder suitable for babies aged 0 to 6 months. Poplar Fruit looked at the milk powder on the shelf. There were cans and bags. There was a dazzling lineup. He was almost dazzled. Some brands he had never even heard of. He quickly asked, "Can you recommend them?" "Yes, sir." "Do you want to choose domestic milk powder or imported milk powder?" The shop assistant nodded and said, "I think it's better to import it. I'm a little worried about domestic ones." Poplar Fruit was referring to the melamine incident a few years ago. The difference between domestic milk powder and imported milk powder was too big. Poplar Fruit didn't want his baby to become a big-headed baby. "Hee hee, sir, you're really thoughtful. We import milk powder from Germany, Australia, and the Netherlands. The quality is very reliable. Look at this German Fubau milk powder. The cows eat pure natural forage, rich in vitamins and minerals, which can strengthen the baby's immune system and promote the growth of the baby's teeth and bones. Looking at the price of the poplar fruit, a small bag actually cost more than 400 yuan. How long can this bag of children last? Poplar fruit asked fearfully. This bag is 600 grams. Your baby has just been born and needs to eat 6 or 7 meals a day. Based on the calculation of 2 spoonfuls per meal, this bag can last for about 6 to 7 days. Poplar fruit was speechless. More than 400 yuan a week, more than 1,600 yuan a month. This food standard was much higher than his. Looking at the milk powder from other countries, the price was about the same. The shop assistant's observation ability was quite good. She saw poplar fruit's hesitation and whispered, "Why don't you look at domestic milk powder? A can of Ely milk powder only costs 200 yuan, but it's 900 grams. Poplar fruit shook his head. How could this work? Even if he ate steamed buns, he had to let the baby drink milk. He was about to speak, but suddenly he felt his heart palpitate again. This time it was much clearer. Poplar fruit frowned and looked in the direction of the hospital. Something happened to the baby? He felt very irritated and couldn't wait to fly to the hospital immediately. He didn't have time to talk. He quickly picked up a bag of fu bao, ran to the cashier to pay, and hurried to the side of the road. There was no time to wait for the bus. Poplar fruit reached out to stop a taxi and rushed to the hospital. It was already evening, and the lights of the metropolis were just coming down. The neon lights and the car lights formed a beautiful picture, but Poplar fruit was not in the mood to appreciate it. He kept urging the driver to drive faster. After paying the taxi, Poplar fruit carried the luggage and rushed to the obstetrics and gynecology department. As soon as he rushed to the obstetrics and gynecology department, he saw head nurse Jiang. Head nurse Jiang's face was very ugly. She scolded him, "Where have you been for so long? I called your phone, but it was turned off. I thought you left the baby and ran away." Poplar fruit took out his phone and found that the screen would not light up. He pulled head nurse Jiang and hurriedly said, "I didn't notice that the phone was out of battery. What happened to the baby? Did something happen?" Head nurse Jiang's face softened a little. She said, "She was fine when we fed her for the first time at noon, but she refused to eat in the afternoon. She couldn't stop crying. Our nurses called your phone, but there was no response. The baby was tired from crying and fell asleep, but she just woke up hungry and refused to eat. Her voice is hoarse from crying. She's crying." Poplar fruit's heart was in his throat. He hurriedly ran to the ward where the baby was. From afar, Poplar fruit heard the familiar but much weaker crying. Poplar fruit felt that his tears were about to fall. He hurriedly opened the door and almost bumped into the nurse in the room. The nurse glared at him and continued to coax the baby. Poplar fruit's right hand loosened, and the luggage fell to the ground. He didn't care. He stretched out his hands and said softly, "Nurse, let me try." As if hearing Poplar fruit's voice, the baby's crying suddenly stopped. Seeing this, the nurse gently placed the baby in Poplar fruit's arms and said, "Raise your left arm. Yes, protect it well. Be careful." Poplar fruit looked at the pale baby in his arms, and his heart was full of regret. "If only I came back earlier. I shouldn't have taken a nap. I shouldn't have done that." Poplar fruit gently shook the baby and said, "Baby, don't cry. Baby, don't cry. Daddy is back. Daddy will never leave you again. Don't cry." The baby's furrowed brows slowly relaxed. Her breathing, which had started with a little sobbing, gradually calmed down. The baby's eyelashes were very long, like little fans. She was very cute. As if she felt Poplar fruit's gaze, the baby's eyelids moved. Her eyelashes gently lifted from the tears on her cheeks, and she slowly opened her eyes. Her eyes weren't open very wide, but it was enough to see her beautiful eyes, which were like black pearls. Poplar fruit's mouth opened. He didn't use his other hand to cover it. He was overjoyed. The baby was. The nurse next to him answered for him. Hey, the moment you came back, not only did the baby stop crying, she even opened her eyes for the first time. Poplar Fruit's mouth moved, but no sound came out. He and the baby looked at each other, and the first person the baby saw was him. Poplar Fruit was so happy that he couldn't speak. At this moment, the baby only had eyes for him, and he only had eyes for the baby. It was as if they were isolated in an independent space. There were no nurses or other children on the beds. They were the only ones left in the world. The baby's mouth also opened slightly. Was he smiling through his tears? Perhaps because she was too hungry, the baby didn't have the strength to keep her eyes open. After a while, her eyelashes gently closed again, and she hummed. Let me do it. The baby needs milk. The experienced nurse took the baby from Poplar Fruit's arms and walked to another room. A kind mother took the baby. Poplar Fruit quickly thanked her, and then turned around with a red face, causing a burst of laughter in the room. At this time, head nurse Jiang also came over and said to him, the mothers in the hospital don't have much milk. You have to be prepared to use milk powder instead. Make milk powder for the baby at night. This way, she can get used to it as soon as possible. Poplar Fruit nodded and said, Okay, I just bought milk powder for the baby. Auntie Jiang, let me tell you, when the baby opened her eyes just now, the first person she saw was me, haha. Head nurse Jiang laughed and said, Look at how happy you are. You don't know that when you didn't come back just now, the baby kept crying, and we were all scared. As soon as you came back, the baby stopped crying. Look, this is the embodiment of the blood bond between the parents and the child. Yes, I was wrong. I shouldn't have been out for so long. The baby will be discharged in a few days. You should stay in the hospital for the next few days. I'm worried that the baby will wake up at night and cry again when she doesn't see you. I'll ask my colleague to get you a bed in the accompanying area. You can also learn how to take care of the baby, and you won't be in a hurry when you go back. Yes, I'll do as you say. Tonight, the baby is going to take her first bath. Don't run around. You have to watch over her. Poplar Fruit straightened his back, put his feet together, and shouted, Yes, sir. You silly boy, don't shout in the ward. Poplar Fruit's head shrank back, causing the room to burst into laughter again. The baby went back to sleep after drinking the milk. Poplar Fruit followed a nurse to go through the accompanying procedures. Although head nurse Jiang helped to arrange it, he still had to pay the fees. Poplar Fruit carried his luggage to his bed, which was only a corridor away from the baby's room. Poplar Fruit knew that head nurse Jiang must have helped to arrange this. The nurse handed him a key to a locker next to the bed. Poplar Fruit first asked the nurse for a bag. He took out the baby's clothes and put them in the bag. Then, he opened the locker and put the luggage inside. Because he forgot to bring his phone charger, Poplar Fruit borrowed a universal charger from the uncle next to his bed. He pulled out the battery and plugged it in the corner of the wall. He raised his hand to look at his watch. It was only a little over 7 o'clock. Poplar Fruit remembered that he hadn't eaten dinner yet, so he said goodbye to the nurse and ran out to eat in a hurry. When he came back, Poplar Fruit first went to the ward to check on the baby, who was still sleeping soundly. It wasn't time yet, so Poplar Fruit went back to his bed and lay down. Now that he was a father, he had to sleep like guerrilla warfare. When he saw that he was free, he quickly rested. There was a lot to do tonight. Chapter 5. At around 9 o'clock in the evening, a nurse came to the nursing area to wake up Poplar Fruit. Poplar Fruit felt sore all over his body. He had not been lying down for long, and he was too tired. He quickly went to the bathroom and washed his face with cold water. When he arrived, the nurse had already prepared everything. Poplar Fruit was still a little worried. He reached his hand in to test the temperature of the water. The nurse slapped the back of his hand and smiled. Don't touch. Your hand hasn't been disinfected yet. Poplar Fruit smiled and said, I'm just worried that the water is too hot. The nurse glared at him. Do you know what's the right temperature? Poplar Fruit could not answer. If you don't know, what if you bring in germs? When bathing a newborn baby, the water temperature should be within the range of 37 to 42 degrees. You have to know that newborn baby's skin is very delicate. You have to be careful in the future. Poplar Fruit nodded repeatedly. If he did not understand, he had to ask. If he did not understand, he had to learn. The nurse first took a soft towel and gently wiped the baby's face. Her movements were so gentle that it was as if she was wiping a priceless Yuan dynasty blue and white porcelain. Poplar Fruit was full of admiration. You have to be careful. When you wash, just wipe gently. Don't rub too hard. The baby's skin is not as rough as you rough men. After the nurse rubbed the baby's ears, she took a small cotton ball from the plate next to her and wiped the baby's ears, eyes, and nostrils. Poplar Fruit was speechless. There were so many things to pay attention to. At this time, the nurse took off the baby's swaddling clothes. She first picked up a wet towel and wiped the baby's little butt with soap. At this time, the baby was a little uneasy and began to struggle in the direction of Poplar Fruit. Poplar Fruit, stand closer. Let the baby see you so that she can be at ease. Poplar Fruit hurriedly squatted and softly coaxed, "Baby, don't be afraid. Daddy is here." After a while, the baby finally calmed down. The nurse gently let her sit in the water. She supported her with one hand and used the other to wash the bubbles off her body. Go back and bathe the child. Be careful not to buy any body wash that contains fragrance or soap. Rinse thoroughly before bathing. After rinsing off the soap on his body, it was time to wash his hair. The nurse held the baby's head with one hand and gently stroked her head with the other. Poplar Fruit was scared out of his wits. He stretched out his arms slightly, afraid that the nurse would accidentally lose her grip. After the nurse finished bathing, she carried the baby out and immediately wrapped her in a dry bath towel. She carefully wiped her body dry and then put on the baby clothes brought by Poplar Fruit. The nurse reminded him, "The baby needs to bathe every day. Today is a little special. Try to bathe her during the day. But be careful, don't bathe her immediately after feeding. It's best to wait for an hour or two." Poplar Fruit, who was like a good student, carefully memorized everything. After the bath, the nurse took the baby to get more milk. When they returned, the baby was full and fell asleep again. The nurse patted Poplar Fruit, who was standing outside the window and watching, and said, "What's wrong? Haven't you seen enough?" "How can I have seen enough? You see, the baby looks very good when she's sleeping." Poplar Fruit pointed at the baby and smiled. "You'll see more in the future. Why don't you take the opportunity to sleep for a while? Don't forget that you have to wake up every 3 hours to feed her tonight." The nurse was speechless at the guy who was obsessed with the role of a father. She comforted him and said, "Go to sleep. Look at your bloodshot eyes. Don't worry, the nurse on duty will wake you up at night." Poplar Fruit didn't insist and returned to his bed. Perhaps he was really too tired. As soon as Poplar Fruit's head touched the pillow, an indescribable tiredness hit his heart, and then he fell asleep. Dreams were always strange and colorful, but this time, Poplar Fruit actually saw a dancing figure in his dream. He felt that his consciousness was clearer now, and he clearly knew that he was dreaming. It wasn't as chaotic as before. Although she couldn't clearly see what the figure looked like, Yanghua felt that the graceful movements were very familiar. The movements involved moving forward, retreating, looking to the right, looking to the left, and looking to the center. From the feet to the waist, from the arms to the back, the strength was smooth and vigorous. It seemed to be very similar to the diagrams in Zhang Sanfeng's internal cultivation technique. The only difference was that the diagrams in the diagrams were broken down, while the one in the dream realm was coherent and could move. As Poplar Fruit's consciousness focused, the figure's movements became very slow, like a slow-motion movie. In this way, Poplar Fruit felt that his understanding of movements was deeper. At this time, an old voice suddenly sounded. It seemed to come from all directions, but also like an echo in an empty valley. It felt like a Taoist priest was giving a sermon. Before Tai Chi, it was originally Wuji. The two Qis are Yin and Yang. Yin is quiet and Yang moves. Heaven and earth are divided into clear and turbid, clear and floating turbid, clear and high and turbid. The vitality of a man depends on his chi. Clear and floating, no different from going to heaven. Condensed and restrained, no different from going to the ground. The intersection of chi and chi is like a tai chi. What the old man was reciting was the contents of the memory cultivation method. At first, Yang Guo was completely unable to comprehend the true meaning behind it. But now, through the old man's voice, it was as if he was suddenly enlightened. Immediately, Poplar Fruit sat down cross-legged and gathered his chi. He, sure, huff, hiss, blow, he, sure. He meditated for 36 cycles of breathing. Then, with his tongue on the roof of his mouth, he rinsed his mouth with saliva. Unknowingly, the old man's voice gradually stopped, and the black figure also disappeared into the darkness. Slowly, Poplar Fruit's consciousness faded, but he was still meditating in the sea of consciousness. If someone outside paid attention to Poplar Fruit's sleeping situation, they would be surprised to find that Poplar Fruit's breathing was different from that of ordinary people. The length of his breathing was alternating between deep and long breaths at a special frequency. And the muscles of Poplar Fruit's body were at the same frequency as his breathing, trembling slightly at an extent that was difficult to detect with the naked eye. At night, a nurse pushed open the door and walked towards Poplar Fruit's bed. Just as she was about to wake him up, Poplar Fruit felt something and opened his eyes. "Little Young," the nurse saw that he was awake and said softly, "It's time to feed the baby. Bring the milk and come with me." Poplar Fruit quickly nodded and quietly took out the bottle, nipple, and milk powder that he bought in the afternoon from the cabinet. When he walked out with the nurse, he was surprised to find that he was very energetic, as if he had slept for a whole day. He looked at his watch. "That's not right. I only slept for 3 hours. Poplar Fruit secretly thought, "Is it the benefit of meditating in the dream? The effect is very good. It seems that this skill in my memory is not ordinary." After washing up, Poplar Fruit followed the nurse into a room. "This bottle and nipple need to be disinfected first," the nurse said. He saw that she boiled a pot of water, and after the water boiled for a while, she used a small tweezer to put the nipple and bottle into the water. Poplar Fruit noticed that in order to prevent the bottle from floating, the nurse tilted it and filled it with water. After 3 minutes, the nurse first took out the nipple, filtered the water, and put it on the tray next to her. After another 2 minutes, she also took out the bottle, filtered the water, and put it next to the nipple to cool down. The nurse picked up the milk powder that Poplar Fruit brought, looked at the introduction, and said to Poplar Fruit, "For this milk powder, add 2 spoonfuls at a time." After the bottle cooled down, she poured 40 milliliters of water from the kettle and explained, "The water used to make the milk powder needs to be about 40 to 50 degrees Celsius. Pay attention in the future. If you're worried that you can't feel it correctly, it's best to use a thermometer. For the first time, pour in 2/3 of the water." The nurse used a spoon to scoop 2 spoonfuls of milk powder into the bottle, closed it tightly, and shook it vigorously. At this time, add the rest of the water. She poured in another 20 milliliters of hot water and shook it evenly. "You can't give it to the child now. It has to be a little cooler." After a while, the nurse touched the bottle, and then dripped a drop from it on her hand. She said, "It's about the same temperature, about 30 degrees. Try it." She also dripped a drop on Poplar Fruit's hand, smiled, and said, "You can try it too." Poplar Fruit blushed and tasted it. It was too little, and he didn't feel any taste. The 2 of them walked to the ward where the baby was. The other children in the ward were brought to their mother's side at night, and it was particularly quiet at this time. As if she felt that there was something delicious, the baby opened her little round eyes and made a sound from her mouth. The nurse was a little surprised and said, "Your child is very obedient today. You know that children cry a lot when they're hungry at night." Poplar Fruit said a little proudly, "My baby won't cry as long as her father is here." The nurse smiled and said, "The baby is so affectionate with you." Poplar Fruit was very happy to hear that. The nurse wrapped the baby in a small blanket and carried her out. She picked up the bottle with her left hand and fed it to her. Poplar Fruit looked at it with envy and whispered, "Nurse, let me try it, let me try it." The nurse smiled and very gently pulled the tightly held pacifier out of the baby's mouth. She first handed the baby, who was making a sound of dissatisfaction, to Poplar Fruit's arms, then held the bottle and said to Poplar Fruit, "You have to be careful when you feed her. The bottle has to be tilted like this, or there will be air in the mouth." Taking the bottle, Poplar Fruit followed the nurse's instructions and put the pacifier to the baby's mouth. He said gently, "Baby, it's time to drink milk. Quickly open your mouth." The baby was very obedient. She opened her mouth and sucked in the pacifier. With milk to drink, her thin eyebrows also relaxed. Poplar Fruit saw that as the baby sucked and swallowed in small mouthfuls, her delicate nose also moved up and down. It was very cute. The baby also had a faint milky fragrance on her body. It was very pleasant to smell. During the day, the baby's face was still wrinkled. After a day of rest and a bath at night, the baby's skin finally relaxed. Her face was no longer pale blue due to malnutrition. She looked white and tender. Her facial features were also much better. Poplar Fruit felt that the baby's eyebrows were very similar to his childhood photos. Her nose and mouth should be similar to Wu Yu's. He didn't know if it was because a father had eyes for beauty. Anyway, Poplar Fruit felt that the baby would definitely grow up to be a great beauty. The baby's eyelashes fluttered as she drank the milk. Her beautiful eyes looked at Poplar Fruit's happy face, and she was so happy that her eyes turned into crescents. Poplar Fruit saw it and excitedly turned to the nurse. "Nurse, look, the baby is smiling." His face was full of unconcealable happiness. The happy time passed quickly. The baby quickly drank the milk. Looking at her tired eyes closed, Poplar Fruit was ready to put her back on the small bed and let her continue to sleep. The nurse reached out and pulled him. "Hey, wait, it's not over yet." It turned out that after the baby drank the milk, he had to hold her upright and pat her. This can let the baby breathe in air out. Otherwise, she will be easy to burp. Under the nurse's guidance, Poplar Fruit gently patted the baby's back. Although it was called patting, it was actually a little more than stroking. Poplar Fruit was worried that if he moved too much, he would hurt the weak baby. That night, Poplar Fruit also got up once to feed the baby. Although it was more torturous, Poplar Fruit enjoyed it. Chapter 6. Creak. Bang. A door was pushed open, and Yang-Guo reached out to turn on the lights in the room. He hugged the baby, who was wrapped up tightly, with only his small nose and eyes exposed. He laughed and said, "Dang dang dang dang, baby, this is our home. Look, do you like it?" Today was May 1st, Labor Day. The baby could finally leave the hospital. As a matter of fact, Yang-Guo had brought her back early in the morning. Poplar Fruit had taken some time to deal with Wu Yu's funeral arrangements a few days ago. He moved the baby's things back and redecorated the room. Poplar Fruit rented a one-bedroom apartment. The apartment was located in a residential area of a public institution. The environment was good, the lighting was good, and the decoration was very comfortable. The rent was not expensive. It was only 800 yuan a month for 50 square meters. In a big city like Yongcheng, it was like cabbage. At that time, Yang-Guo had received the house from a good senior when she graduated. Her senior had left a lot of furniture inside. Poplar Fruit put the things away first. Then he unwrapped one of the 2 layers of quilts wrapped around the baby and put her on the bed in the bedroom. He was worried that the baby would catch a cold on the way home. Now that she was home, there was no need to cover her so tightly. "Baby, look, this is your little bed. Look, isn't it beautiful?" Poplar Fruit pointed to the crib next to his bed and said to the baby, "Your mother bought this for you." "Sigh, you haven't seen your mother yet, have you?" "Your mother is also a pitiful person." Poplar Fruit took the baby to the desk. He opened the drawer and said, "It's okay. Let's live a good life. Look, these are your mother's diaries. And this hard drive, Daddy sorted out some photos and information about your mother from her computer. When you grow up, Daddy will show you, okay?" The baby was too young to understand the sadness of an adult. She thought it was something fun and waved her little hands and cried. Poplar Fruit shook off his emotions. He closed the drawer and said with a smile, "Let's go to the living room." The living room was the same as the bedroom. It was very clean, and the floor was spotless. Although Poplar Fruit had purposely cleaned his house before, he was a bit of a clean freak. This kind of person would feel uncomfortable if he didn't clean his house for a few days, so he usually kept his house very clean. This is Dad's computer. It's a new Lenovo desktop. This computer was originally installed in the bedroom. Poplar Fruit felt that the radiation from the computer was not good for the baby's health, and he had to make room for the baby's crib, so Poplar Fruit simply moved out the long computer table. There was no TV in the living room. The previous owner had not installed one, and Poplar Fruit felt that it was enough to have a computer, so it did not waste money to buy a TV for decoration. The computer desk was placed where the TV cabinet was originally. The length was just right. There was a big cabinet next to it. Poplar Fruit opened the cabinet door on the right. There was a stack of baby clothes and a stack of soft towels neatly arranged inside. There were also 2 bags of diapers outside. Look, these are your clothes. Yesterday, Dad went to buy 3 more sets for you. They're all Disney brand goods. It cost Dad 300 yuan. Baby, do you like them? Yeah. The baby responded with a confused monosyllabic sound. Hee, Dad will take that as a yes. Poplar Fruit closed the cabinet door with a smile and turned around. In the middle of the living room was a 3-piece sofa set. It was said that the original owner had not used it for more than 3 years, but Poplar Fruit specially went to buy a softer and more plush sofa set. He laid the baby down on the sofa. He leaned against the side, his neck against the back of the sofa, and tilted his head to look at the baby. Comfortable? Poplar Fruit stretched and smiled. This sofa was left to Dad by the uncle who used to live here. You don't know, but every time your Uncle Mosquito came to Dad's place to play, he liked to occupy this big sofa. Mosquito was Poplar Fruit's best friend in university. He was a local of Yongcheng, and his name was Song Jiwen. This guy was considered the second generation of a small government official, but he was quite forthright and did not put on airs. When he was in university, he and Poplar Fruit skipped classes, played basketball, and stayed up late to play games together. Before he graduated, he was a civil servant. Now, his life was quite comfortable, but he still lived at home. The feeling of living at home, in his words, was confinement. Therefore, Song Jiwen usually carried his computer over to Poplar Fruit's place to play on the weekends. The living room was relatively large. The sofa area was near the bedroom, and the dining area was near the small balcony. Since there was no kitchen, Poplar Fruit used cardboard to separate an area with 2 tables. One was the dining table. In addition to Poplar Fruit's plate, bowls, and chopsticks, there was also the baby's tableware. They were all separated in a clean basket. The other table had a microwave, induction cooker, and rice cooker. The microwave and rice cooker were left behind by the original owner, and the induction cooker was bought by Poplar Fruit. Usually, Poplar Fruit would buy vegetables and cook at home on weekends. It was a small reward for himself. The only fly in the ointment was that although it was separated by cardboard, whenever he cooked, the room would still be filled with the smell of oil and smoke. After all, it was only 1 room and 1 living room. The small balcony was used to dry clothes. Poplar Fruit felt that in the future, this place would gradually be occupied by the little guy's clothes. When that time came, the colorful little clothes and diapers would definitely be very spectacular. Poplar Fruit planted a pot of devil's ivy on top of the balcony. This was bought when he went to Yongcheng's flower market with his girlfriend. Seeing this pot of devil's ivy, Poplar Fruit was a little depressed. He still wasn't mentally prepared to tell his girlfriend about the baby. He lowered his head and looked at the baby in his arms. Baby, do you think Auntie Ran will forgive Daddy? At noon, Poplar Fruit first fed the baby and coaxed her to sleep. Then, he took the time to cook some noodles. Poplar Fruit lay on the bed. He didn't feel sleepy. He looked at the ceiling and thought about some things. These days, his girlfriend, Lu Yunran, was still the same as before. She called once every 1 or 2 days. Poplar Fruit always felt guilty to his girlfriend, so he didn't talk much on the phone. When asked if he had anything interesting recently, Poplar Fruit evaded the question. Poplar Fruit and his girlfriend were classmates in high school. At that time, they didn't talk much. When they reached university, the two of them didn't go to the same university, but they still studied in the same city. When they were in university, the two of them started chatting. They both had feelings for each other. When they were in their second year, Yang finally won Lu Yunran's heart. At that time, it caused a stir in their high school circle. During the Chinese New Year party, their high school teacher laughed and said, "I didn't expect Poplar Fruit to be the biggest winner." After graduating from university, Lu Yunran found a job in Buddha City. Poplar Fruit stayed in Yongcheng. The two of them became a long-distance relationship. However, Yongcheng and Buddha City weren't far. They even had a subway. During the holidays, Poplar Fruit would take a 2-hour ride to find her. If it wasn't for this incident, Poplar Fruit had planned to accompany his girlfriend. They had known each other for 8 years and had been in love for 4 years. However, Lu Yunran was a very traditional girl. Poplar Fruit had only held her hand until now. When he was chatting with Song Jiwen even laughed at his lack of firepower, stopping after taking down the first base. It was also because of Lu Yunran's traditional personality that Poplar Fruit felt uneasy. Would she accept that her boyfriend had a child with another woman? Poplar Fruit felt that the possibility of Mars crashing into Earth was higher than this. Poplar Fruit had a headache thinking about this. He felt frustrated and couldn't sleep. Since he couldn't sleep, Poplar Fruit got up and sat on the bed to meditate. In his mind, Zhang Sonfeng's internal martial arts was divided into 2 parts. One part was internal strength, using one's will to train one's qi. The other part was moves. It was a bit like the Tai Chi fist on the market, but the moves had some variations and were more concise. The Tai Chi fist on the market consisted of many different types of performances. Yang had only learned 13 styles, each of which contained countless variations and countless combinations. One had to use internal energy as a guide, and the moves as a supplement. One had to improvise according to the situation. Poplar Fruit remembered the Tai Chi fist in Master Jin's novel. In the book, Zhang Sanfeng taught Wuji the Tai Chi fist. When Wuji said that he had forgotten all about it, Zhang Sanfeng laughed happily and allowed him to fight the enemy. From this, it could be seen that this fist technique had been trained to the pinnacle, allowing one to defeat a move without a move. There wasn't much space in the house for Poplar Fruit to practice his moves. Poplar Fruit wasn't in a hurry. It wouldn't be too late to practice his moves after he had mastered the basics of internal strength. Having said that, Nigong is indeed an extraordinary thing. Yang can meditate during the day and cultivate at night. Her body can also circulate autonomously during the night. One of the benefits was to concentrate and refresh himself. Poplar Fruit found that he only needed to sleep for 3 hours a day to be fully recovered. This was also the reason why he could maintain a good condition even though he had to breastfeed and change the baby's diapers every day. There was another benefit that Poplar Fruit had discovered. Just now, his mind was in a mess and he was anxious. After meditating for half an hour, his mind gradually calmed down. It was similar to the self-enlightenment of Buddhist meditation. Perhaps there were other benefits, which were left for Poplar Fruit to discover in the future. The baby was still sleeping. Poplar Fruit had nothing to do, so he went to the living room to surf the web. Poplar Fruit suddenly remembered that the baby hadn't been named yet. He had been so busy these days that he had forgotten. When he had just been discharged from the hospital, head nurse Jiang had specially told him to go back and quickly think of a name. He had to get a birth certificate for the baby. Poplar Fruit checked the internet. There were many naming websites, but he couldn't find one that he liked. Poplar Fruit ran to the room, took out the dictionary, and began to flip through the pages. Yang and Jing? No, Anya? I don't like it. Oh. Wait. Angie. Angel. Didn't Wu Yu say in her diary that the baby was an angel given to her by God? Poplar Fruit, who had an extraordinary memory, remembered every sentence in Wu Yu's diary at a glance. But the name Angie is too common, and it doesn't sound like a name from China. Angel. Los Angeles. Right. Isn't Los Angeles called Los Angeles? Lost angel means fallen angel. Baby isn't a fallen angel, but the most beautiful angel that fell into the mortal world. Why don't we call her Luo Qi? Poplar Fruit shook his head again and muttered to himself, "It has to be changed." Change the character Luo to Luo next to the character Wang. Ing Luo has the meaning of beautiful jade. Let's call the baby Luo Qi. Young Luo Qi, that's a good name. Poplar Fruit ran back to the baby's bed, knelt on the ground, and leaned over the guardrail to look at the sleeping baby. He reached out to touch the baby's tender little face and said softly, "Baby, you'll be called Young Luo Qi from now on, okay? Kiki, do you like the name Daddy gave you?" Maybe it was because Poplar Fruit touched her little face, but the baby's mouth moved slightly. Poplar Fruit smiled happily and said, "Daddy will take that as a yes. It's decided that you'll be called Young Luo Qi from now on, Daddy's little angel." Chapter 7. In the afternoon, Kiki woke up. Poplar Fruit wrapped her in a small blanket and carried her out of the bed. The milk was already heated in the living room, and the milk bottle was soaked in the hot water to keep it warm. Poplar Fruit held Kiki firmly with his right hand, and took out the milk bottle with his left hand. He wiped the water droplets on the bottle with a clean cloth next to him. Kiki, who was already hungry, couldn't help but moan when she saw her rations. Poplar Fruit smiled and said, "Not yet. Let Daddy see if it's cold." He dripped a few drops on the back of his right hand to feel it. It was almost done. Poplar Fruit wiped his hands clean and picked up the milk bottle to feed Kiki, who was waiting to be fed. Kiki happily drank the milk in small sips, and her small eyes were focused on the milk bottle in front of her. She really couldn't take her eyes off it, as if she was worried that the milk bottle would suddenly fly away. Poplar Fruit didn't dare to move. He didn't know how to find a sofa to sit down, so he just stood there and waited on her. Fortunately, Yang Gua had practiced kung fu, and the baby wasn't very heavy now, less than 4 kilograms. If it was another father, he wouldn't be able to hold on for more than 10 minutes with one hand holding the baby in the air. After feeding Kiki, Poplar Fruit sat on the sofa with her in his arms. He picked up a book on the coffee table and began to flip through it. This book was brought back from Wu Yu's house, and it was about parenting. Perhaps it was because of the colorful pictures in the book, Kiki began to feel a little restless, and she moved in Poplar Fruit's arms. "Kiki, do you want to read it too?" Poplar Fruit brought the book closer, and Kiki quieted down. Her small eyes blinked, and she curiously read the book with her father. She didn't know what happy things she thought of, but she suddenly giggled, and her voice was as light and pleasant as a wind chime. Poplar Fruit deliberately slowed down the speed of flipping through the book, and he picked out the key points while reading. "Too little sleep makes you stupid." What kind of title was this? Why was it so sensationalist? "Baby, look here." For children who were in the growth period, sleep could not only relieve fatigue and allow the child to rest, but it could also promote the growth of bones and intelligence. If the child slept less or had poor sleep quality, it would harm the child's growth and development and physical fitness. "Look, you're sleeping at least 18 hours a day now." Poplar Fruit did some calculations. Kiki could be said to be eating and sleeping. She woke up a little longer during the day, but overall, she slept about 19 hours a day, which was considered to have reached the standard. As he flipped through the pages, Poplar Fruit came across a particularly interesting item. Baby touch. Baby petting was not a new term. In fact, it had been popular overseas for a long time. It had even given birth to a new profession. The skin of a newborn baby was very sensitive. Gently petting the baby's body could stimulate the baby's nervous system and various organs. It could promote the baby's growth and development, and it could also make the baby's brain smarter. Poplar Fruit picked up Kiki, looked into her eyes, and said seriously, "Kiki, let's give it a try?" He did as he said, but before that, Poplar Fruit first gave her a bath. After drying the water, the naked Kiki was wrapped in a small blanket and carried to Poplar Fruit's big bed. Okay, everything is ready. Let's start. Poplar Fruit smiled. Kiki didn't understand, but she waved her little hands and kicked her little feet. Don't worry, Daddy will give you a massage before you put on your clothes. Poplar Fruit recalled the steps explained in the book. He picked up the baby lotion next to him and squeezed a little on his hand. He carefully avoided Kiki's eyes and began to gently rub her forehead. Above the eyebrows, below the eyes, the bridge of the nose, the philtrum, and the chin. Poplar Fruit also gently traced a smile line along the corner of Kiki's mouth. Baby, you have to smile more often in the future. Daddy really likes to see you smile. Poplar Fruit then squeezed a little more baby lotion, rubbed his hands together, and then stroked Kiki's chest. He started from her ribs, to her shoulders, and back again. Kiki giggled and twisted. Don't move. Daddy is giving you a massage. Be serious. Be serious. Poplar Fruit gently pinched Kiki's right arm, and his right hand gently rubbed her little wrist and little finger. Kiki wanted to struggle again, but Poplar Fruit didn't dare to twist her, so he could only do it slowly. Poplar Fruit didn't dare to use too much strength. He only rubbed her skin slightly, for fear of twisting her. Kiki thought that her father was playing a game with her, so she twisted happily. Poplar Fruit took a long time to rub her hands together. Poplar Fruit circled Kiki's stomach, avoiding her navel. Poplar Fruit suddenly thought of a small game. He drew an I on Kiki's stomach with his right hand and said, I with his mouth. Then he drew a heart and said, love. Finally he drew a U and said, you, I love you, Kiki, Daddy loves you. Kiki continued to giggle, and Poplar Fruit also laughed. The happy laughter even covered the cicadas outside the house, and it was particularly warm in this hot summer. After Poplar Fruit stroked Kiki's back and thighs, he quickly put on her diapers and clothes. After a while, the baby was also sleepy. Her eyelids were drooping, and she could barely open her eyes. Poplar Fruit saw this and carried her to the crib to sleep. A no chi he si en ka ga ya ku no wa. The beautiful bell of Sky City sounded. Hey, wait. Poplar Fruit washed his hands and hurriedly ran out of the toilet. He was just washing Kiki's diapers and clothes. Hello? Mosquito. Poplar Fruit picked up the phone on the coffee table and answered. Yes, I'm at home. You want to come over? No, I'm free. Okay, come over. There's something I want to discuss with you. It's okay. I can't explain it over the phone. Come over and I'll tell you. Okay, see you later. Song Jiwen was coming over to play again, and Poplar Fruit was also looking for someone to talk about Kiki. After putting down the phone, Poplar Fruit's mouth hummed the tune of Sky City, and squatted back to the toilet to wash Kiki's clothes. As soon as the clothes were hung up, Poplar Fruit heard a knock on the door. This rhythm, 2 long and 3 short, was Song Jiwen. Coming. Poplar Fruit greeted. He was not afraid of disturbing the baby because the bedroom door was closed. Opening the door, Song Jiwen stuffed the laptop bag and the bag in his hand into Poplar Fruit's hands, took off his shoes and walked in. He took a pair of slippers from the shoe cabinet in the front hall and put them on. How did you get here so quickly today? Let me tell you, the subway was full today. Looking from afar, I was scared to death. I didn't dare to squeeze in, so I took a taxi and came here. Song Jiwen said with a lingering fear. Poplar Fruit put the bag of hops on the coffee table, put the laptop bag on his computer table, and said, There are many people going out on the 1st of May. This is normal. Hey, don't sit down. Go wash your feet first. Poplar Fruit stopped Song Jiwen, who was about to put one foot on the sofa. Song Jiwen muttered, Why are you so wishy-washy today? Okay, I'll go wash my feet first. Coming out of the toilet, Song Jiwen's eyes were sharp. He immediately saw the milk bottle on the dining table. It was as if he had discovered a new continent. He cried out in surprise, Lao Gua, What's wrong with your milk bottle? I was just thinking about how to tell you. Poplar Fruit stood up from the sofa. Poplar Fruit opened the bedroom door, turned around and motioned for Song Jiwen to follow him. Song Jiwen followed him in. As soon as he entered the door, he saw the baby's crib and the sleeping Kiki. His glasses fell to the ground, and his mouth couldn't close. Poplar Fruit gestured for him to be silent. The two stood by the bed and watched for a while, then closed the door and went back to the living room. Song Jiwen looked at Poplar Fruit strangely. Poplar Fruit couldn't stand his gaze. He pointed to the sofa and said, "Sit." Song Jiwen sat down. He couldn't hold back his words in front of Poplar Fruit. He asked tentatively, "Your child?" Poplar Fruit nodded and said calmly, "Yes, it's mine." "Biological?" "Biological." Song Jiwen slapped him and laughed. "Hey, you're good. So fast. Last time I said that you couldn't win my sister-in-law over after 4 years." Poplar Fruit smiled bitterly. "That's not right." Song Jiwen was puzzled. "Didn't I see my sister-in-law last month? I didn't see that she was pregnant." Poplar Fruit sighed and replied, "It's not Xiao Rance." "Hiss." Song Jiwen gasped. "You had it with another woman? No way, even you had an affair?" "No, you're not married yet, so it can't be called an affair." "Are you two-timing?" "It's not what you think." Poplar Fruit quickly waved his hand. "Do you still remember our graduation trip last year?" Poplar Fruit explained, "On the last night, you and those bastards forced me to drink. When I went back." Just like that, Yongguo revealed everything that had happened. "Damn, you hit the bullseye with one shot. You got pregnant that night?" Song Jiwen slapped his thigh. "I didn't know it was so coincidental. When I woke up that day, I forgot all about it." "Then are you sure the child is yours?" "It should be mine. Wu Yu has no reason to lie to me. I read her diary. I'm her only man. Besides, the time is right," Poplar Fruit said. "Now you're in trouble. You have a burden now. Although Wu Yu is gone, how are you going to explain it to Lu Yunran?" Poplar Fruit smiled bitterly. "I'm also worried about this. According to Xiao Ran's personality, she'll beat me to death if she finds out. You'll be lucky if she beats you to death. I think with Lu Yunran's way of thinking, it'll be difficult." Song Jiwen shook his head. Poplar Fruit understood what he was referring to. He said gloomily, "I also don't think she'll forgive me." Song Jiwen rolled his eyes and said, "How about this? While no one knows about this, we can send the child to the orphanage without anyone knowing." Poplar Fruit interrupted him. "Impossible. Mosquito. Don't mention this again. If you mention it again, I'll fall out with you." "Sigh, I knew you would say that." Song Jiwen understood Poplar Fruit. Poplar Fruit was a smart person, but he was also very responsible. If he said he gave up, then he wouldn't be Poplar Fruit. Chapter 8. Then what are you going to do? Song Jiwen opened the bag, opened a can of beer, and handed it to Poplar Fruit. Poplar Fruit waved his hand and said, "Drink by yourself first. I'll go down to buy groceries at 5. He paused and then said, "I haven't thought of a good idea yet. I can only delay it. I haven't told Xiao Ran or my family yet. It's not a good idea to delay it like this. I'm telling you, it's better to come clean as soon as possible. It's either a fight or a death. But if there's really no hope, you'll die sooner or later. It's better to do it earlier, so you don't have to worry all day." "Of course you think so. When have you been in a relationship for more than a month?" "I've been with Xiao Ran for 4 years. I'm afraid she'll take things too hard." Bull*T, she'll take things too hard? I've seen Lu Yunran many times. How can I not tell? She's a traditional woman who only wants to get married once in her life. If there's no hope for you, she won't pester you. She's so beautiful. Why would she want to hang herself on a crooked tree like you?" Poplar Fruit was silent. Song Jiwen realized that his words were a bit too harsh. He added, "My words are a bit harsh. Don't take it to heart. I'm doing it for your own good." "I know," Poplar Fruit said in a low voice. "I understand. I knew her character from the moment I fell in love with her. I thought the same. I used to think that this girl was beautiful and reliable. I thought that she would follow you wholeheartedly after marriage. Where else can you find such a good girl?" Song Jiwen thought to himself, "You're even worse than her. You're both idiots who fall in love with the goal of marriage. I always feel that if we get married, we'll be the most loving couple in the world. We'll go to work together in the morning, cook together in the evening, take a walk in the park after dinner, have a child, and grow old slowly." Song Jiwen couldn't help but say, "Do you think this is love? Why do I feel that it has already surpassed love and become familial?" Song Jiwen thought of Yang Guo, whose name was only one syllable different from Poplar Fruit's. Yang Guo and Xiao Longnu were able to stay in the tomb for a lifetime. This fellow's thoughts were not to be outdone. Poplar Fruit smiled and said, "Of course it's not something a playboy like you can imagine. I'm just thinking about it. You know, I don't have any great ambitions. I just want to live a simple but happy life." Poplar Fruit picked up the kettle on the coffee table and poured himself a cup of water. He took a sip and said, "Who knew that before we got married, I would have a daughter? She messed up the original plan. But, you know what? Now that I have a daughter, I feel that I am much happier than before. Every day, I feed her, bathe her, and change her diapers. When she laughs, I laugh too. When she cries, I feel sad too." Song Jiwen shook his head and said, "You are enjoying it. Moreover, you are isolated from the world. I can tell at a glance. How many days have you not shaved? You haven't even taken care of your hair properly, right?" Poplar Fruit touched his chin. The stubble on his beard was as long as a knuckle. He smiled embarrassedly and said, "I didn't pay attention. I'll go get it shaved later." "Have you thought it through? With this daughter, you are no different from a divorcee with a child. No, it's even worse. You are pregnant before marriage," Song Jiwen said. Poplar Fruit said resolutely, "I have already thought it through. No matter what, I will raise Kiki." "Kiki? That's the name Wu you gave her?" "No, I gave it to her. Yang Luoqi, as in Luo and Qi." "Yes, that's a nice name. All right, I won't try to persuade you. I can only wish you good luck. However, regarding Lu Yunran, I don't think you will succeed," Song Jiwen said. "I can only take one step at a time." Poplar Fruit sighed. Poplar Fruit stood up and opened the bedroom door to take a look at Kiki. She was still sleeping peacefully. He closed the door and said to Song Jiwen, "I am going to buy groceries. You stay at home and help me look after Kiki. She is still sleeping. There is no big problem. If there is anything, call me." Song Jiwen drank his beer and waved at him. He looked up and said, "No problem. Go ahead and come back early. I feel anxious to look after the child alone." There was a market near the community. Poplar Fruit did not shop much. He simply bought half a bundle of vegetables, 2 tomatoes, and a bag of beef. There were eggs and ingredients at home, so there was no need to buy them for the time being. When he got home, Kiki had just woken up. Poplar Fruit quickly put down the vegetables in his hands, washed his hands, and went to take over from Song Jiwen, who was at a loss. After changing Kiki's diapers, Poplar Fruit did not rush to make milk for her. Instead, he poured some warm water into the milk bottle to feed her. The nurse had said that Kiki was not breastfeeding, so she had to drink more water. "Kiki, this is Uncle Mosquito. Did you say hello to Uncle Mosquito?" Poplar Fruit teased her. However, it was obvious that plain water was not as good as milk. Kiki wrinkled her little nose as she drank and vomited a lot. Poplar Fruit was not prepared, and his chest was wet. Song Jiwen watched as Poplar Fruit fed her water and changed her clothes. He was so busy that he shook his head and ignored him. He connected his computer to Poplar Fruit's computer desk and started playing Transmigration Hotline. After busying himself for half an hour, Kiki went to sleep again. Poplar Fruit was free again. He glanced at Song Jiwen, who was playing in full swing, and said, "You play first. I'm going to cook, and I'll accompany you at night." However, Song Jiwen did not pay any attention to him. After Poplar Fruit graduated, his culinary skills had improved greatly. Perhaps it was because he had become smarter, so he learned everything quickly. Originally, he had only studied his culinary skills on the computer. Now, he had become a master chef. Of course, this title had not been approved by the country. It had been crowned by Song Jiwen, the foodie. Poplar Fruit washed the rice, put it in a finger and a half of water to cook, and plugged in the rice cooker. At this time, Song Jiwen turned his head and said, "Hey, wait. My mom asked me to bring 2 sausages for you. I forgot. Cut a section to make the preserved rice. The one you made last time was super delicious. I'm drooling just thinking about it." Poplar Fruit's head was full of black lines. "Why didn't you say so earlier? It takes a long time to make preserved rice." Song Jiwen took out 2 sausages from the bag and handed them over with a smile. "It's okay. It's okay to eat it later. Who told me to like it?" The sausages that Song Jiwen brought over were very beautiful. The white fat formed a sharp contrast with the red lean meat. They were tight and elastic to the touch and smelled very fragrant. At first glance, one could tell that they were authentic high-quality Cantonese sausages that were hard to find in the market. Poplar Fruit unplugged the electricity. The preserved rice had to be soaked in water for an hour first. Poplar Fruit also boiled water. Some of it was used to disinfect the baby's pacifier, and some of it was poured into a plate. He cut a long section of sausages and soaked it in water. A series of compact but rhythmic sounds of the knife rang out. Poplar Fruit's left hand pressed on the beef, his middle finger pressed against the knife, and his right hand held the knife. When the kitchen knife fell, it was clean and tidy. With a gentle pull, it was lifted up without any hesitation. His left hand followed the movement of his right hand to the left. In less than 10 seconds, the beef was cut into thin but uniform slices of meat. After cutting the beef, Poplar Fruit took out the sausages, cut them into slices, and put them on a small plate. Since they had to wait, Poplar Fruit washed his hands and sat behind Song Jiwen to watch him play. Song Jiwen was quite good at playing with an AK. His headshot rate was very high, but this guy was always a little addicted to playing games. He held the gun and rushed forward. Often, after killing 2 or 3 people, he would be surrounded and beaten up. Seeing that it was about time, Poplar Fruit brushed a layer of oil over the pot, and then poured the rice and water into it. There was no casserole at home, so Poplar Fruit had to make use of the rice cooker to make the preserved rice. Poplar Fruit did not stay idle while the rice was cooking. He chose the vegetables, beat the eggs in a bowl, and peeled the tomatoes and cut them into small pieces. Originally, the tomatoes could be eaten without the skin, and they were more nutritious. However, Song Jiwen disliked the skin, so Poplar Fruit had to give up. Poplar Fruit first boiled the tomato and egg soup. He did not plan to do too much today, so he chose the simplest tomato and egg soup. When the soup was ready, the rice was almost done. Poplar Fruit placed the sausages on top of the rice and continued to cook. After 2 or 3 minutes, he put in a few pieces of vegetables, closed the lid, and pulled out the plug. Yang Gu then quickly stir-fried a plate of beef and a plate of vegetables. Tonight's dinner was ready. Mosquito, come and wash the dishes. Poplar Fruit placed the dishes on the table and called Song Jiwen to work. Okay, I'm starving. Song Jiwen decisively logged out of the game, locked the computer, and ran over. He picked up a piece of meat and threw it into his mouth. Oh, delicious. Lao Gua, the beef you fried is amazing. It's smooth and tender. It's so fragrant. Song Jiwen praised. Damn, you ate without washing your hands. Go and wash the dishes. Poplar Fruit scolded him while scrubbing the pot. Before serving, Poplar Fruit used soy sauce, sugar, sesame oil, and other ingredients to make a small bowl of sauce. He turned on the rice cooker and poured it over the preserved rice. For a moment, the whole room was filled with the fragrance of the preserved meat. Song Jiwen, who was washing the dishes, drooled all over the floor. Delicious! Song Jiwen didn't have any table manners at all. He praised loudly and quickly dug into the rice that exuded the golden yellow sausage oil. From time to time, he would pick up a piece of beef dripping with juice and stuff it into his mouth. Poplar Fruit didn't waste time with him. Anyway, this guy would never be polite in front of him. He picked up the food and tasted it carefully. He was a little proud. My culinary skills are getting better and better. What was the happiest thing for a chef? It was that there were people appreciating their dishes. With the praise of Song Jiwen, this foodie, Poplar Fruit ate even more happily. After eating and drinking to his heart's content, Song Jiwen consciously ran to wash the dishes. After Poplar Fruit cleaned up the pots, bowls, ladles, and spoons, he made milk powder for Kiki. Kiki was very punctual. She woke up at almost 8 o'clock. Poplar Fruit skillfully fed her milk and waited on her until she fell asleep. Poplar Fruit felt that Kiki was really obedient. In the past few days, she rarely cried. Other than wetting the bed and crying when she was hungry, she didn't give him any trouble. After cleaning up, Poplar Fruit went to take a shower and wash the clothes. Chapter 9. Poplar Fruit had just walked out of the bathroom while wiping his hair when he heard Song Jiwen's shouts. "Old Gua, come over quickly. Help me torture her." Luckily, Poplar Fruit's bedroom had good soundproofing. Otherwise, Kiki would have definitely woken him up. Thinking about soundproofing, Poplar Fruit suddenly thought that since Kiki could not hear them, wouldn't it mean that if Kiki cried inside the room, Poplar Fruit would not be able to hear it as well? Poplar Fruit quickly opened the bedroom door and took a look. He only felt relieved when he saw that Kiki was still sleeping quietly on the bed. Poplar Fruit thought to himself, "Next time, I have to buy a voice transmission device that is commonly seen in American TV dramas." The voice transmission device was similar to a wireless pager, but there were some differences. The child phone could receive sound all the time, but it would not transmit any sound. On the other hand, the mother phone only had the function of playing the sound waves received by the child phone. Usually, in American TV dramas, the adults and the babies slept separately. That way, the adults could monitor the baby's movements through the mother phone. This device was quite suitable for Poplar Fruit. In the future, when the baby woke up in the bedroom, he would be able to hear it immediately when he was reading or doing laundry outside. He turned on the computer and logged into Crossfire. This game was one of their favorite games when they were in university. The other was Dota. As it was difficult to gather 5 people to play the game after graduation, Poplar Fruit and Song Jiwen rarely played it. During university, Poplar Fruit's marksmanship was not good. When they played, it was Song Jiwen who carried him. At that time, Song Jiwen had the title of School's #1 AK. His marksmanship led the generation. However, after graduation, Poplar Fruit had become smarter. Although his marksmanship had not improved significantly, his ability to compete with others had improved a lot. Song Jiwen had once fought him one-on-one. In the end, he was outplayed by Poplar Fruit for 28 of the 30 rounds. Song Jiwen exclaimed, "Evildoer." After that, he refused to play one-on-one with Poplar Fruit anymore. Poplar Fruit's awareness and tactics, paired with Song Jiwen's marksmanship, were quite famous in the first district of Yongqing. As long as they didn't meet a professional or quasi-professional expert, they were unstoppable. Before playing Blast, Poplar Fruit played a round of individual competition to warm up his hands. The personal competition mode was a new mode of Crossfire, which was different from the old first-person shooting game Counter-Strike. After entering the map, you would find that all the players in the world were your enemies. Of course, it didn't mean that you would be isolated by others into a single faction. In this mode, everyone was fighting for themselves. After a player died, they would respawn at a random location on the map. This way, you wouldn't know when an enemy would suddenly appear behind you. It was because of this randomness that Poplar Fruit couldn't play mind games with others. There was only one word on this map: F***CK. As soon as Poplar Fruit respawned, he fiddled with the mouse. Before he could get into the zone, he was killed by an enemy that came from the right. Song Jiwen had just turned his head to take a glance when he saw this scene. He chuckled and laughed at him. Poplar Fruit was furious. After he respawned, he picked up his beloved AWM, Desert, and blew up the enemy's head with a bang. The AWM's bullet was not as powerful as the Barrett's bullet, but it was lighter. Its movement speed and scoping in were faster. Poplar Fruit felt that as long as he was hit in the upper body by a sniper rifle, whether it was an AWM or a Barrett, the effect would not be much different. Poplar Fruit nimbly jumped onto the bridge and fired 2 shots to the left, killing 2 more enemies. Coincidentally, an enemy respawned on the right. Poplar Fruit scoped in and fired. It was done in one breath. Poplar Fruit felt that his shot was as smooth as flowing water. It was so cool. However, the enemy didn't die. F***CK, I forgot that he's invincible when he respawns. Poplar Fruit looked gloomily at the enemy with an invincible glow, who turned around and aimed an AK at him. He thought that he was going to die. However, he didn't die. It was not that the enemy's marksmanship was bad. It was because Poplar Fruit's left hand shook and made an unbelievable evasive maneuver. Since the enemy didn't kill Poplar Fruit didn't hold back. He instantly killed the unlucky guy whose invincibility had ended. That's not right. Poplar Fruit thought to himself. Why am I in such good condition today? I can use the mouse so well, and my hand speed is so much faster too. Those shots just now were definitely the best shots Poplar Fruit had ever fired in his life. Every shot was a headshot. That evasive maneuver was something that Poplar Fruit had learned from professional players on the internet. He used to practice it with Song Jiwen. Song Jiwen's form was not the same, but he couldn't practice it at all. This was related to his slow hand speed and slow reflexes. It was innate and hard to make up for it. But today, Poplar Fruit felt that his hand speed was much faster than before. His reflexes were also much sharper. Could it be the benefits of practicing internal energy? Poplar Fruit was still thinking about his own changes. He was absent-mindedly controlling his character. In the end, he was accidentally killed by an enemy who revived behind him. Ha. Song Jiwen accidentally saw this scene again and laughed happily. Poplar Fruit glanced at this guy who was gloating and ignored him. He began to try to improve the sensitivity of his mouse to see how fast he could handle the speed. It should be known that the faster the mouse sensitivity, the faster the gun would move. Then, it would be possible to kill the enemy before they could shoot. After a round of individual competition, Poplar Fruit gradually entered a good state. He felt that his sniper rifle had finally broken away from its previous awkward state. He had finally entered the realm of an expert that he could only dream of. Of course, there was still a certain gap between him and a real professional expert. After the warm-up, Poplar Fruit and Song Jiwen entered a bomb room together. Entering the game, the bomb mode, the map was Black Town. Black Town was known as the national map. It was originally a very classic bomb map in Counter-Strike. Later, no matter which new first-person shooter game came out, this map was a must. Everyone in China had long known about it. Poplar Fruit was still using a sniper rifle. In the past, he never dared to fight with the enemy sniper in the middle because his marksmanship was too bad. But this time, Poplar Fruit, who was confident in his individual competition, set up his gun in the middle. The enemy was very cunning. They didn't squat in the middle. Poplar Fruit was skilled and bold. Half of his head popped out from the bridge. Through the scope, he saw half of a figure on the left. Poplar Fruit swung his gun steadily. Bang! It was different from the sound of an empty gun. Poplar Fruit heard the sound of a bullet biting into flesh. Poplar Fruit scored the first goal of the game. The enemy team lost a person. After each shot, they moved to a different location. Poplar Fruit put away his gun and followed the main team to rush to Avenue A. Song Jiwen was the first to bear the brunt. With a flash and a fog, he didn't wait for the fog to completely disperse. He rushed out with the AK and fired 2 shots every 2 steps. The enemy's firepower was fierce, but not a single bullet landed on him. 2 more teammates with AKs rushed out from the lurkers' side. The enemy team panicked when they saw 3 people rushing out. Bullets flew everywhere without a fixed target. Poplar Fruit took the opportunity to jump out from the wall and fired a shot in mid-air. It was a jump sniper. Poplar Fruit took down another enemy. At this time, Song Jiwen's AK showed its power. He successfully blew up the enemy's head with 3 consecutive shots. Of course, the defenders weren't jealous. Under their crossfire, the lurkers' side also lost a person. Poplar Fruit fired another shot, but the enemy just happened to shrink back. The defender threw out a smoke and began to shrink back behind the car. For a moment, the 2 sides were in a deadlock. At this time, Poplar Fruit noticed that the person guarding the side path on his side had been killed. He was worried that someone would sneak up from the side path and grab his butt. Thus, he said to Song Jiwen, "You guys fight steadily. I'll go watch the side path." When he returned to the side path, Poplar Fruit found that the enemy team had already retreated. The remaining 2 defenders relied on the terrain advantage on Avenue A to hold their ground. Song Jiwen and the other teammate couldn't attack Avenue A for a while. "It's okay. You guys continue to fight and hold them back. I'll flank them from the middle," Poplar Fruit said. "Okay." Song Jiwen threw a non-threatening high-explosive bomb from afar. He popped out from the side of the wall and fired his AK at the 2 defenders. They couldn't raise their heads under the pressure. When Song Jiwen finished his magazine of bullets, they wanted to return fire, but Song Jiwen retreated back. Poplar Fruit jumped down from the side path and entered the middle door. Although the side path was closer, the enemy team should have people guarding it. Poplar Fruit could only fire once. If a sniper rifle encountered an AK at close range, if the first shot missed, they could only wait for death. It was too risky. Thus, Poplar Fruit took a detour and entered the sniper's room from the middle. In order to not be noticed by the enemy, Poplar Fruit used quiet steps. Entering the sniper's room, the enemy team was still in a deadlock with Song Jiwen. They probably thought that the enemy was on Avenue A. Poplar Fruit said to Song Jiwen, "Mosquito, pull the line." Song Jiwen understood and jumped out to fire, attracting the enemy's attention. Poplar Fruit flashed out of the window. It bounced off the wall and then exploded in the air. This flash hit all the targets. The enemy's screen turned white. They couldn't see anything and could only shoot randomly with their AK. Poplar Fruit flashed at the window and took care of the enemy hiding behind the car. He then switched to his pistol and jumped out of the window. He steadily shot the enemy who was blinking like a headless fly. The unique sound of the desert eagle rang out. A figure fell to the ground. Blood sprayed in a beautiful arc in the air. The enemy team won. F*CK, old fruit, you're on steroids. Song Jiwen looked at him in surprise. 4 kills. The team is going to be wiped out. Poplar Fruit chuckled. There was no need to explain his tough life. In the second game, the enemy team sniper in the middle didn't believe it and continued to snipe Poplar Fruit in the middle. This time, he fell before he even saw Poplar Fruit's shadow. In the third game, Poplar Fruit was nowhere to be seen in the middle. The enemy team's sniper retreated. He didn't have the confidence to snipe Poplar Fruit. In the end, he still couldn't escape the fate of being killed by Poplar Fruit. After killing an enemy on Avenue A, he was killed by Poplar Fruit before he could retract his scope. In the fourth game, he fell to Poplar Fruit's sniper again. In the end, before the game was over, he couldn't bear the humiliation and retreated. The defenders couldn't hold on for long. In the end, they were swept by Poplar Fruit and Song Jiwen. After a few games, Song Jiwen finally saw the strength of Poplar Fruit's marksmanship. Poplar Fruit's sniping skills were almost as good as his AK. Song Jiwen's tyrannical AK coupled with Poplar Fruit's accurate sniper rifle and flexible tactics. The two of them had a great time that night. In the middle of the night, when Poplar Fruit was feeding Kiki, Song Jiwen muttered to himself, "Is it because he's a father? I haven't seen him for a few days and he's become so strong. Should I find a woman and have a child? He asked and answered his own question. He shook his head and said, Forget it. If I'm like poplar fruit, my dad will beat me to death. Chapter 10. So early. Song Ji-wen, who was sleeping in the living room, was woken up by the sound of poplar fruits banging in the cubicle early in the morning. He was sleepy and listless as he sat on the sofa. Poplar fruit had slept later than him last night, but he had woken up earlier than him in the morning. He didn't know that poplar fruit had actually gotten up in the middle of the night to make food for Kiki. At that time, he was sleeping like a pig, and poplar fruit was very careful not to wake him up. Poplar fruit, who was full of energy, got up at 5 o'clock. He went to a park in the neighborhood to practice martial arts for an hour, and then came back after buying groceries and breakfast. Usually, poplar fruit rarely made breakfast by himself. Buns, pastries, soup noodles, and fried dough sticks were all sold in the market. He could only cook noodles, and porridge was more time-consuming. Although he had bought breakfast, he still had to make Kiki's breakfast by himself. The sound of poplar fruit boiling water for a milk bottle woke Song Ji-wen up. If you still want to sleep, you can sleep in my room. Poplar fruit poked his head out of the cubicle. I'm not sleeping anymore. Song Ji-wen stretched and stood up from the sofa with the towel wrapped around him. He muttered, Is there anything good to eat? I'm starving to death. Poplar fruit said while making milk powder, preserved egg and lean meat porridge, fried dough sticks, and bean paste buns and custard buns. They're all on the table. Help yourself. Song Ji-wen's eyes lit up. There were fried dough sticks. He threw the towel aside and rushed into the bathroom to wash up. He threw half of the towel on the sofa and the other half on the floor. Poplar fruit weighed the bag of milk powder. He felt that there was only about 2 days left. It seemed that Kiki had eaten a little too much. When they were in the hospital, Kiki was given 2 spoonfuls of powdered milk for every meal. However, Kiki got hungry faster than other babies. Later, after asking the nurse for permission, Kiki added half a spoonful of poplar fruit. Kiki ate so much, he didn't know if she would get fat. Poplar fruit was very worried. At that time, when he asked this question, the nurse glared at him. How could he say that the child was fat at such a young age? What kind of father was this? The nurse explained to him that some babies had a good physique and a strong metabolism, so they would eat more. Kiki's appetite was within the normal range. But in this way, the milk powder was consumed a lot faster. It seemed that he would have to spend another 4 red notes. After breakfast, Song Ji-wen glanced at poplar fruit. This peer of his who used to play crazily with him in the past was now feeding his daughter with a warm expression. Looking at his expression, it was so sweet that one could pinch honey out of it. Since there was nothing for him to do, Song Ji-wen prepared to pack up his laptop and go home. At this time, poplar fruit received a phone call. After hanging up, he hurriedly stopped Song Ji-wen, who was about to open the door and go home. Wait, mosquito, do you have anything to do this morning? No, I'm just going home. Song Ji-wen shook his head and said. He had an ominous feeling in his heart. Poplar fruit beamed and said, Then you can stay at my house. You have nothing to do anyway. Poplar fruit explained. It turned out that head nurse Jiang had just called and asked him to quickly apply for a birth certificate. It should have been done yesterday when he was discharged from the hospital, but poplar fruit hadn't thought of a name for Kiki, so it was delayed for a day. Poplar fruit didn't plan to take Kiki out again. After all, the baby was still young, and it wasn't good for her to be exposed to too much wind. It just so happened that Song Ji-wen was at home and could help take care of her. Song Ji-wen looked at the small face and small eyes lying quietly in poplar fruit's arms. His scalp was a little numb. He hesitated and said, I can't take care of a child. Look at me, I'm so clumsy. Poplar fruit laughed and said, It's okay. I'll coax her to sleep before I leave. Didn't you see her yesterday? Okay. Song Ji-wen reluctantly agreed. He took out the computer that he had installed and reconnected it. Half an hour later, Kiki fell asleep. Poplar Fruit carried her to the crib and covered her with a blanket. He didn't close the door when he came out. He pulled down Song Jiwen's headphones and said to him, "Bear with it. Don't wear headphones to play games. Pay attention to the movements in the house. If anything happens, call me." Song Jiwen leaned weakly on the computer desk and responded. Poplar Fruit took all the documents and went out. It was very troublesome to get a certificate in China, but Poplar Fruit had head nurse Zhang's guidance. The green light was green all the way, so it was very smooth. After receiving the birth certificate with the Ministry of Health's big red seal, Poplar Fruit looked at it. He had been out for less than an hour, so he decided to go to the city's largest children's store. The store wasn't too far from the hospital. Poplar Fruit only needed to take the bus for 2 stops to get there. Walking into the store, Poplar Fruit thought to himself, "No wonder it's the city's largest." The area was about the same as a medium-sized supermarket. The layout and decoration looked many times better than the one near the neighborhood. The shopping area had a complete range of products, from baby formula to baby clothes, from cribs to strollers, basic necessities, housing, and transportation. As long as Poplar Fruit could think of, it seemed to sell here. Poplar Fruit also saw the parent-child activity area. Many mothers were reading children's books and playing games with their children. Under the warm lights, it was a happy and harmonious atmosphere. Poplar Fruit was not stingy with its investment to please the young mothers. If it captured the hearts of these young mothers, would it still need to worry about the source of customers? Poplar Fruit heard that the baby market was very profitable. This store was a huge gold mine. The milk powder in this store was more varied and cheaper than the one near the neighborhood. Poplar Fruit chose a brand of imported milk powder from the Netherlands. It just so happened that they were having a promotion, so he bought 2 packs at once. Poplar Fruit also found the microphone that he remembered. In the end, he realized that it wasn't called a microphone at all. It had a famous name, Baby Monitor. It looked very well made. The power jack was a complicated roundabout design. It also took into consideration that babies might accidentally touch it. Poplar Fruit was very satisfied with this baby monitor. Although it was a little expensive, he still bought it. Before going back, Poplar Fruit passed by the baby stroller display area. He remembered that he didn't have one at home. It wasn't very convenient for him to carry Kiki around all the time. After looking at the price, Poplar Fruit was dumbfounded. It was more than 1,000 yuan for one. There were also strollers that were more than 200 yuan next to it. However, in comparison, the strollers that were more than 200 yuan looked too shabby. Not only were they simple, but the structure also looked very insecure. The steel frame of the stroller that was more than 1,000 yuan was much thicker. It felt very sturdy, and the fabric was softer and more comfortable. The design of the stroller was also very clever. The protective buckle was in place, and the ceiling could be retracted like a top sports car. The stroller could also be folded when not in use. It looked very high-end and classy. After hesitating for a while, Poplar Fruit gritted his teeth and chose the one that was more than 1,000 yuan. When paying the bill, Poplar Fruit's heart was broken. In the past few days, he had spent a lot of money on Kiki. A total of about 5,000 yuan. His savings had shrunk by nearly a third. If he didn't work hard to make money, the father and daughter would probably have to go hungry. On the bus, Poplar Fruit received a call from Song Jiwen. As soon as the call was connected, Poplar Fruit heard Kiki's loud crying. His heart immediately tightened. "Mosquito, what's wrong? Did something happen to Kiki?" Poplar Fruit asked anxiously. Song Jiwen stammered, "No, nothing serious. It seems like she pooped. It's so smelly. Why aren't you back yet? She's awake now and crying. I don't know what to do." Poplar Fruit said, "I'm on the bus. Don't panic. I'll be there in 15 minutes." The bus was swaying. It stopped at every stop to pick up a passenger. Poplar Fruit, who was usually calm, was burning with anxiety. He wanted to throw the driver out and drive himself. When he finally arrived, he heard Kiki's crying from afar. Poplar Fruit ran up the stairs, but found the door open. Poplar Fruit thought that an accident had happened again. He rushed in with his things without even taking off his shoes. Hearing the sound, the people in the bedroom all turned to look at him. Poplar Fruit saw his neighbors, Lu Gillen and Fong Wenjing. When Poplar Fruit came in, Fong Wenjing was changing Kiki's diaper. Phew! Only then did Yongguo's heart drop to the ground. She let out a sigh of relief. Lao Gua. Song Jiwen scratched his head and greeted him. Fong Wenjing smiled and said, "Poplar Fruit, you're back. We just heard a child crying from across the street, so we came to take a look." Poplar Fruit panted slightly and said a little embarrassedly, "Sorry to trouble you. I also received a call from Mosquito and rushed back. Sister Fong, let me do it. It's so dirty." Fong Wenjing said, "What are you talking about? What do you mean by dirty? It's just changing a child's diaper. When I gave birth to Xiao Dong, it's not like I didn't take care of children." "Okay. Sorry to trouble you, Sister Fong. I'll clean it up first." Poplar Fruit smiled. Lu Gillen said in a loud voice, "Don't say it's no trouble. Neighbors should help each other." Song Jiwen echoed from the side, "Yes, yes, what Big Brother Gue Lin said makes sense." Poplar Fruit cleaned up the shoes and took Kiki's diaper and clothes to the bathroom. Kiki was cleaned up by Fong Wenjing and finally smiled through her tears. Song Jiwen, who felt as if he had been pardoned, didn't want to stay any longer. He quickly said goodbye and went home. Poplar Fruit poured water. He took Kiki and asked Lu Gillen and Fong Wenjing, who had helped him a lot, to sit down. Fong Wenjing asked curiously, "Poplar Fruit, what's the matter with this child?" Song Jiwen didn't explain it clearly just now. Poplar Fruit had to tell the story again. Lu Gillen and Fong Wenjing heard it and sighed. The couple was from Nanhu. They came to Guangzhou early to work. Now they opened a bottled mineral water shop next to the market. In the past, Fong Wenjing was in charge of the shop and Lu Gillen delivered water. It was very hard. Later, the business was doing well. Lu Gillen hired a few workers and didn't have to do it himself. Usually, Poplar Fruit had a good relationship with them. Lu Gillen and Fong Wenjing were very responsible and warm-hearted people. Usually, when there was delicious food at home, they would share some with Poplar Fruit. Sometimes, when Poplar Fruit worked overtime until late, they would help him heat up the food and wait for him to come back to eat. Their family's Xiao Dong was more than 5 years old today. He often came to Poplar Fruit's house to play on weekends because Poplar Fruit could make delicious food like cola and chicken wings. He also had a computer for him to play games to his heart's content. Poplar Fruit asked, "Brother Lu, didn't you go back to your hometown in Nanhu during the May Day holiday? When did you come back?" Lu Gillen smiled and said, "We just arrived at noon today. The shop will be open tomorrow." Poplar Fruit counted. Yes. Today was the 2nd of May. He had been so busy these days that he had forgotten the time. The May Day holiday was coming to an end. That meant that he had to go to work tomorrow. Poplar Fruit found that he had neglected a big problem. If he went to work, what would happen to Kiki? Chapter 11. After the Labor Day holiday, Poplar Fruit had to go to work. He couldn't take Kiki with him. Not to mention that Poplar Fruit wasn't a woman. Even if he was, the company didn't allow children to come to work. Crying and making a fuss made the company a mess. Poplar Fruit's company was a private enterprise. To put it bluntly, benefits were paramount. Even if it was a woman, the company wouldn't spend money to let her take maternity leave. When the company recruited salespeople, it was clearly stated that they had to be unmarried. Poplar Fruit didn't think much of it at that time. Now, he didn't dare to say anything about Kiki. Work was a small matter, but salary was a big matter. Poplar Fruit's family now had a bottomless hole that spent money like water. How could they support themselves without a salary? However, Poplar Fruit didn't want to leave Kiki alone at home. Besides, Kiki had to feed her from time to time. So, Poplar Fruit was a little worried now. "Hey, I was wondering what big matter it was that made you worried." Lou Gillen smiled and pointed to his wife next to him. "Don't you still have your sister-in-law?" Fong Wenjing put her hand on the armrest of the sofa and said with a smile, "Yes, you can go to work without worry. Anyway, I don't have much to do in the shop every day. Let me help you take care of the child." Poplar Fruit was very touched. This couple really helped him in his hour of need. If Song Jiwen had asked him to help take care of the child, Poplar Fruit would have been really worried. However, Lou Gillen and his wife were different. Lou Gillen was steady, Fong Wenjing, and they were both experienced people. Poplar Fruit letting them take care of Kiki could be said to be the best choice. Poplar Fruit felt that ever since Kiki was born, he had always had the help of a benefactor and was extremely lucky. Head nurse Jiang, who worked at the hospital, saw that he had become a father at such a young age and helped him make arrangements. She even asked the nurses to teach him how to take care of the child. If it weren't for head nurse Jiang, Poplar Fruit would still be at a loss. He wouldn't know what to do at all. Now, Lou Gillen and his wife had promised to help him take care of the children while he was at work. Poplar Fruit didn't know what to say about this situation. No words could express their gratitude. Poplar Fruit invited them to have lunch together. Fong Wenjing refused, saying that they had just returned home and were tired, so they wanted to rest at noon. Poplar Fruit refused. He said, "How about this? I'll cook dinner. Little Dong likes the dishes I cook very much. You've helped me so much, I should at least express my gratitude." Fong Wenjing saw that she couldn't persuade him, so she said, "I really can't argue with you. No wonder you're a businessman. Okay, but you don't have to cook here. Your place is too small. It's better to come to my place. I have everything. Okay, it's a deal." Poplar Fruit laughed. In the afternoon, Poplar Fruit coaxed Kiki, who had taken a bath and eaten her fill, to sleep. After that, he asked Fong Wenjing to take care of her and went straight to the market. Different from yesterday, there were a total of 4 people eating today. Poplar Fruit planned to buy more vegetables. Since he was going to cook, he would cook a feast. Lou Gillen and his family were from Nonhu. They preferred spicy food. Poplar Fruit bought a lot of red peppers. Looking at the green peppers next to him, he also grabbed half a bag. Lou Gillen had other ingredients at home, so there was no need to buy them. As for vegetables, cabbage and spring onions naturally couldn't be left out. Poplar Fruit also bought a white radish, which was the most suitable for stewing beef brisket. After buying the beef brisket, Poplar Fruit thought for a while and weighed more than a caddy of beef. Today, he didn't plan to make cola chicken wings, but he still wanted to use chicken to make soup. Poplar Fruit went to the chicken stall and asked for half a black chicken. Finally, Poplar Fruit also bought a big head fish head. Big head fish was often called big head fish or big head fish. With tonight's ingredients in both hands, Poplar Fruit returned home with a full load. He went straight to Lou Gillen's house. Seeing the food that Poplar Fruit was carrying, Lou Gillen's son, Xiao Dong, who had just woken up, jumped on the sofa and then jumped down. He shouted excitedly, "There's a feast to eat! There's a feast to eat!" Lou Gillen was different from Poplar Fruit. He bought his house. Although it was a second-hand house, the decoration was very beautiful. Although it was across the street, this house had 2 bedrooms and 1 living room. There was an additional kitchen and a large balcony. The total area was nearly 80 square meters. It looked much more comfortable. Fong Wenjing was a very virtuous woman. She took care of the house neatly. She usually cooked at home, so there were all kinds of utensils in the kitchen, such as casseroles, soup pots, and so on. It was also very complete. Poplar Fruit looked at such a kitchen, and there was no need to mention how envious he was. Poplar Fruit put down the food and went back to his side. He took the remaining sausage from yesterday. He was going to make preserved rice, but because preserved rice was not the main dish today, he only took 1 sausage. At this time, Fong Wenjing carried Kiki in Poplar Fruit's new trolley and pushed it over. She asked Lou Gillen to look after her, and she also went to the kitchen to help. Poplar fruit, I'm here to help you. Fong Wenjing smiled. She took out the mushrooms and cabbage from the bag and washed them at the sink. Poplar fruit laughed and said, Sister Fong, don't say that. You are my master. My Hunan cuisine was also taught by you. I haven't forgotten. The student has surpassed the master. Your standard of Hunan cuisine is now higher than mine. Look at Xiao Dong. He likes to eat the dishes you cook. His mouth is already picky. If I don't learn from you, he won't eat the dishes his mother cooks in the future. Speaking of Little Dong came. Little Dong, who couldn't stand the loneliness in the living room, ran into the kitchen. He pulled Poplar Fruit's clothes and said, Uncle Gua, are you going to make cola chicken wings today? As he said that, he swallowed his saliva. I'm not going to make cola chicken wings today. Little Dong's expression suddenly became very depressed. But, there will be better food today. Poplar Fruit laughed and said. After listening to Poplar Fruit's words, Little Dong became excited again. Poplar Fruit washed the rice and soaked it in water. Fong Wenjing selected the vegetables. Poplar Fruit washed the cutting board and kitchen knife and began to cut the meat. Needless to say, the sausages were cut into slices like yesterday. The black chicken and beef brisket were cut into large pieces. After cooking, it was more enjoyable to eat. The beef was sliced and placed on a plate. The big head fish head was cut into small pieces. As the soup needed to be boiled for a long time, Poplar Fruit washed the big soup pot and put the black chicken, red dates, longan, and wolfberry into the soup pot. Poplar Fruit thought for a while and cut 2 pieces of ginger into it. He added water, plugged in the stove, and boiled it. After washing the radish, he also cut it into pieces. Fong Wenjing said enviously, Poplar Fruit, your knife skills are really good. Every time I cut the radish, I have to use a lot of strength. Poplar Fruit couldn't teach her. In the past, Poplar Fruit couldn't cut the radish so well. But now, his hand strength was a little stronger, and his knife was steady and accurate. This mysterious feeling couldn't be taught. Poplar Fruit boiled the beef in the pot with water and cut some ginger into it. Poplar Fruit felt that the gas stove was indeed more convenient than the induction cooker. But he couldn't install a gas stove in his house. The restless Little Dong ran in again. He raised his head and looked at Poplar Fruit with his round eyes and said, Uncle Gua, my sister is so cute. What's her name? Poplar Fruit smiled and said, My sister's name is Kiki. Little Dong rolled his eyes and said softly, Uncle Gua, can I touch my sister Kiki's face? Daddy doesn't allow me to touch her. Fong Wenjing said, No, Little Dong. She's too young. You can't touch her. You're a big brother. You have to take good care of her. Little Dong suddenly felt that he had an important mission. He saluted and said seriously, Yes. 2 minutes later, Poplar Fruit scooped the beef brisket into the prepared casserole and poured the water and minced meat away. Then, he cooked the sauce. Poplar Fruit added rice wine, soy sauce, oil, white sugar, and salt into the casserole. After it was boiled, he poured it into the casserole and slowly stewed it with star anise and other spices. The head of the big head fish was marinated with salt, cooking wine, starch, pepper, and ginger slices. The beef was also marinated. Next to him, Fong Wenjing washed and cut the green peppers. It was at this moment Lil Dong ran in again like a little messenger. He called out, Uncle Gua, little sister Chi-Chi is awake. Poplar Fruit quickly washed his hands and asked Fong Wenjing to slice the mushrooms and cut the cabbage. After Kiki woke up, she wanted to drink milk again. Poplar Fruit carried her home and took the milk that was kept warm in hot water. After feeding Kiki, Poplar Fruit let her lie in the crib and play by herself. He went back to the kitchen to continue cooking. When the rice was almost done, Poplar Fruit poured it into the rice cooker and added water to cook. Now that all the ingredients were ready, Poplar Fruit planned to cook the fish head with green peppers first. The fish head had to be fried first, so Poplar Fruit poured oil into it. After the oil heated up, he put in the fish head. With a sizzling sound, the whole kitchen was filled with the rich aroma of the fish. Poplar Fruit estimated the heat and turned the fish head over one by one. The fried side revealed an attractive golden color. After frying the fish head, he put it on a plate. He took out the pot again. The scallion and ginger gave off a strong fragrance in the hot oil. Together with the green peppers, the pot was filled with red, green, white, and yellow colors. The color was very bright. Then Poplar Fruit poured the fish head into the pot and gently stirred it. Finally, he added lao gon ma and an appropriate amount of soy sauce. After the fish was evenly fried, it was ready. The soup was almost done. Poplar Fruit couldn't be distracted, so he asked Fong Wenjing to season it. He began to stir-fry the mushroom beef. The beef was stir-fried first. After the oil heated up, he poured it into the pot and took it out. Then, he stir-fried the ginger and garlic and added the soy sauce and oil. After that, he added the mushrooms, beef, and green peppers. After stir-frying, Poplar Fruit scooped a spoonful of pepper, salt, and water starch. After the oil in the pot thickened, he took out the pot. On the silver plate, the brownish-red beef mixed with the white and tender mushrooms. The fragrant oil flowed on the surface and looked very attractive. Fong Wenjing called out to Xiao Dong, who was already drooling, and asked him to bring the dishes that had already been cooked over. Poplar Fruit looked at the time and turned on the electric rice cooker. He spread the sausages on the rice and continued to cook. The third dish was shredded cabbage. Shredded cabbage was easy. The process was very simple. However, it was not easy to cook shredded cabbage well. The key to cooking this dish was to control the heat. Poplar Fruit used a small flame when he was stir-frying the chilies and garlic. But after adding the cabbage, he immediately increased the heat and stir-fried it. Xiao Dong used his left wrist to shake the wok over the fire. His right hand used the spatula to stir-fry the cabbage quickly. After stir-frying a few times, Poplar Fruit added some soy sauce and salt to stir-fry the cabbage evenly. At this time, the beef brisket was almost cooked. Poplar Fruit poured the sliced radish into the cabbage and cooked it for another 20 minutes. Finally, Poplar Fruit added some soy sauce to the preserved rice, and a feast was ready. Lu Gillen looked at the radish-stewed beef brisket, green pepper bighead fish, mushroom beef, and shredded cabbage on the table. These 3 meat dishes were delicious. Xiao Dong was holding his small bowl and chopsticks as he stared at the delicious food on the table. He couldn't wait to start eating. During dinner, Xiao Dong was chewing the delicious beef. There were rice grains on his face, and there were a few pieces of fish in his bowl. He wanted to stretch out his chopsticks to pick up the beef brisket, but his hands were not long enough. He was so anxious that he kept twisting on the stool. Poplar Fruit slowly tasted the delicious black chicken soup and smiled to appease Xiao Dong. He raised his hand to pick up a piece of beef brisket and put it on Xiao Dong's small plate. Poplar Fruit turned around and looked at Kiki, who was sitting in the baby stroller quietly looking at the unfamiliar room. He thought to himself, "Kiki, you have to grow up quickly. Daddy will make good food for you." Chapter 12. The weather in the south was always unpredictable. Yesterday, the sky was still clear, but at night, there was a thunderstorm. Even though it had been raining all night, the rain still didn't want to stop. The world was shrouded in a hazy drizzle. The rain never conflicted with going to work. Although it was a bit embarrassing, Poplar Fruit still appeared at the company's entrance on time before 8 o'clock. Putting away the umbrella, Poplar Fruit shook off the rainwater on his feet. He looked at the dark clouds outside with some worry. Today, he left Kiki with Fong Wenjing. He was a bit worried. He didn't know if Kiki would make a fuss because he wasn't around. He didn't know if Kiki would be able to adapt to this kind of weather. He also didn't know if Fong Wenjing could take good care of Kiki. He had already packed the milk bottle and handed it to her. He hoped that she would remember to feed Kiki well. Poplar Fruit put away the thousands of worries in his mind. Since he came to work, then he should work seriously. Pushing open the company's door, the girl at the front desk sweetly said, "Good morning, Brother Yang." She also helped to get a bag for Poplar Fruit to put the wet umbrella in. "Jingyi, Don't be so polite. I can do it myself. Poplar Fruit laughed. The beautiful girl at the front desk was called Lu Jingyi. She graduated from a second-tier university and was still interning in the company. However, Poplar Fruit felt that Lu Jingyi was very diligent. When the internship ended, the company would probably sign an employment contract with her. Poplar Fruit was very optimistic about her, so he usually took care of her a little. Yo, Jingyi, why are you calling me Jingyi so intimately? The company's door was pushed open. The humid air mixed with a disgusting voice greeted them. It's Han Tao. Poplar Fruit frowned. Ever since Poplar Fruit won a big order in March and became the company's monthly sales leader, Brian had been giving him a hard time. From time to time, he even liked to use words to disgust him. Poplar Fruit shook his head at Jing-yi and whispered, "Ignore him. He's just a mad dog." After that, he walked to the elevator and didn't look at him the whole time. Seeing that he was ignored, Brian was a little angry and said, "Poplar Fruit, don't be arrogant. I know that you didn't come to work 2 days before the holiday. Be careful not to get caught by me again, or I will tell Uncle to fire you." It was no longer news that the big boss of the company was Brian's uncle. Poplar Fruit wasn't afraid of him, because he didn't come to work and asked for leave from the manager. A second-generation heir couldn't do anything to him. Besides, he was just a second-generation heir. He didn't have the final say in the company. There was a reason why Brian was always against Poplar Fruit. Back then, in March, he had finally managed to pull in a person who had connections to increase his performance. He had thought that he would be able to win in one fell swoop in March and impress his uncle. From there, he would have the opportunity to be promoted to management. However, Poplar Fruit's big order ruined his efforts and destroyed his hopes. He also had to pay a lot of money. How could he not hate Poplar Fruit? It was just that Poplar Fruit was protected by manager Du, and Du Ronghui was a veteran of the company. Therefore, Brian couldn't do anything to them. Therefore, Brian could only threaten Yonghua and gnash his teeth, waiting for the opportunity to catch Yonghua in the act. On the 3rd floor, Poplar Fruit changed into a clean business suit in the cloakroom. He went to his seat and greeted his colleagues. After sitting for a while, Du Ronghui came out of the elevator. Poplar Fruit and his colleagues quickly stood up. "Good morning, Manager Du." "Good morning, Manager Du." Compliments came one after another. "Good, good, good, everyone sit down." Du Ronghui smiled and waved. When he walked past Poplar Fruit's seat, Du Ronghui stopped and greeted him with a smile. "Yang, have you taken care of everything at home?" Poplar Fruit quickly stood up and said, "It's nothing serious. Thank you for your concern." Du Ronghui nodded and said, "That's good." After he finished speaking, he walked into his manager's office. Perhaps it was because of the rain, but there were no customers in the morning. Poplar Fruit was bored and organized some of his information. Then he read some foreign articles on the Yin website. With his current level of English, Poplar Fruit could read some English websites without any difficulty. However, on the Yin website, there were people who collected the more interesting articles from foreign journals. It was more convenient for him to read on the website. The translations on the Yin website were both good and bad. But after thinking about it, most of the capable translators were making money. Who would spend time translating for free? Of course, there were translators, but they were probably hired by the Yin website. Most of the translations were used by translation enthusiasts or beginners to practice their ability. When Poplar Fruit was free, he would also post his translations on the website. His translations were more accurate and beautiful, so he was somewhat famous. Near noon, Poplar Fruit received a phone call in the bathroom. It was from Sister Fong. She said that Kiki refused to drink milk again and was crying very hard. Poplar Fruit frowned and looked at his watch. There were still 15 minutes before the lunch break. Poplar Fruit couldn't wait any longer. His daughter's heart-wrenching cries were still echoing in his ears. Gritting his teeth, Poplar Fruit secretly pressed the elevator button. He told Lu Jingyi at the front desk to pretend that she didn't see anything and then slipped away. Poplar Fruit thought that he left early for the first time without anyone noticing. He didn't expect that when he pressed the elevator button, he was seen by Tao Han. Han Tao was hiding in the dark, silently laughing to himself. He must be happy that he caught Poplar Fruit's weakness. At noon, the rain stopped. Poplar Fruit hailed a taxi, but it still took nearly half an hour to get to Fong Wenjing's store. Poplar Fruit was burning with anxiety. Fong Wenjing was also sitting in the store on pins and needles. Seeing Poplar Fruit come back, she quickly carried Kiki into Poplar Fruit's arms. Back in her father's arms, Kiki's cries gradually subsided. Poplar Fruit looked at Kiki in his arms. Her face was haggard from crying. There were still tears on her eyelashes. Her tear-stained face made Poplar Fruit's heart ache. Poplar Fruit asked Fong Wenjing for a tissue. He gently wiped away the tears on Kiki's face. But Kiki's small eyes were still a little red and swollen, and her breathing was a little hoarse. Kiki was finally willing to drink milk. Poplar Fruit was slightly relieved. Kiki relies on you a lot, Fong Wenjing said. This is a good thing, but it's also very troublesome. When you're not around, she will cry non-stop. Her crying is earth-shattering. Just listening to it makes my heart ache. Poplar Fruit's eyebrows were knitted together. He had no choice but to say, Sister Fong, I'll wait for her to fall asleep before going to work. After she falls asleep, she'll be quiet and there won't be any problems. Poplar Fruit was also comforting himself. That's the only way. Fong Wenjing nodded and said. In her father's warm arms, Kiki finally fell asleep after drinking milk. Looking at the slight smile on her face, Poplar Fruit's mood finally relaxed. He rushed back to the company before work in the afternoon. As soon as he came back, he was called to the manager's office. Du Ronghui sat in the boss's chair, flipping through a document. He didn't speak, nor did he look at Poplar Fruit. Poplar Fruit felt that something big had happened. He lowered his eyebrows and stood in front of the manager's desk. He didn't even dare to breathe. Poplar Fruit, did you leave early in the morning? Du Ronghui threw the document in his hand on the desk and asked with a frown. He was found out. Poplar Fruit knew that something was wrong. He could only admit it obediently. Yes, I'm sorry, manager. I was wrong. I left my phone at home, so I ran home at noon to get it. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to make it back to work, so I left a few minutes early. You're still looking for excuses. Du Ronghui's tone was full of disappointment. No matter what the reason was, you should have said goodbye to me. It wouldn't have been too late to leave after that. If you don't tell me, do you still respect me as your manager? Poplar Fruit panicked. He raised his head and said quickly, Manager, I didn't. I'm sorry, I didn't think it through this time. I'm really sorry. I promise there won't be a next time. Du Ronghui's face relaxed a little. He exhaled and said slowly, I'll let it go this time. I helped you suppress it this time. Next time, be careful. Don't always let others have something on you. I won't clean up your mess for you every time. Alright, you can leave now. Du Ronghui waved his hand and sent Poplar Fruit out. Poplar Fruit suddenly realized that it was Han Tao who was snitching on him. After he left, he sat in his seat and frowned again. Confucius said, only women and villains are difficult to deal with. If they are close, they are not inferior. If they are far, they are resentful. He was talking about Han Tao. He was narrow-minded, liked to snitch, and bullied others. Poplar Fruit was not in the mood to plot against him. Now he was being tortured by Kiki. How could he have time to deal with Han Tao? But Poplar Fruit did not provoke him, but Han Tao, this villain, kept causing trouble for him. Now looking at Kiki's attitude, without Poplar Fruit by her side, she would make a scene in heaven. Poplar Fruit guessed that such incidents of being late and leaving early would not be uncommon in the future. For a foreign trade salesman, he usually had to accompany and greet customers when they came. If there were no customers, he could only sit in the office and feel bored. Other people actually sneaked away when they had nothing to do. As long as it did not affect the work, the manager would turn a blind eye. But now, Poplar Fruit was being targeted by such a villain. He would rather give up his own performance and care about Poplar Fruit's work every day. If he was late and left early, even the slightest violation of the company's rules would be reported. What would Poplar Fruit do like this? If Kiki had a problem again like at noon, wouldn't Poplar Fruit be criticized again? Du Ronghue said that he could not cover for him all the time. If he made too many mistakes, the company would punish him according to the company's rules. Du Ronghue could not do anything. Poplar Fruit was now gnashing his teeth in hatred towards Han Tao. He really wanted to beat him up, but beating people would not solve the problem. Beating him would only put him in a more difficult situation. As the nephew of the big boss, although he was not the boss's son, there were still some managers who were willing to suck up to him. Poplar Fruit, who had just entered the company for less than a year, really could not do anything to him. Villains are hateful, villains are hard to deal with. Poplar Fruit could only sigh in his heart. He could only concentrate on his work, like walking on thin ice. He dared not slack in the slightest and tried not to let Han Tao catch him. Chapter 13. Clap, clap, clap. Du Ronghue walked out of the office and clapped his hands, attracting the attention of all the employees in the business department. Everyone, listen carefully, Du Ronghue said. Whenever he said this, it meant that there was a big task, so everyone looked at him attentively. Du Ronghue nodded with satisfaction and continued, "There's a big client coming to the company this afternoon to sign a contract with the boss. You all know that big client. He's the old white man from Florida last year. Everyone has seen him before. But the boss said that this time, in addition to the people signing the contract, he is also coming with his son. His son is a Chinese, and it is said that he is particularly interested in our country's traditional culture." Du Ronghue paused and said, "So this time, our business department not only needs to send someone to translate for the boss, but also someone to accompany the client's relatives. This task is very important, not only because the contract is very big, but also because it is related to our company's image and subsequent orders, so we can't afford to make any mistakes." He pointed at Poplar Fruit and said, "Poplar Fruit's English is the best. You are responsible for signing the contract with the boss. Is there anyone who knows more about our traditional culture?" Most of the salespeople present were from English or international trade background. If you asked them to talk about English literature, they might be able to say something good. But when it came to Chinese traditional culture, they had already handed it back to their high school teachers. How could they dare to say that they were familiar with it? Poplar Fruit was different. He read a lot of books, and his memory was very good. It was not an exaggeration to say that he had a strong memory. Looking at the colleagues in the office staring at each other, Poplar Fruit was ready to step forward and ask for the task. "Manager Du, let me do this. When it comes to Chinese traditional culture, I am definitely the one who knows it." The voice that Poplar Fruit hated behind him sounded again. With a thought, Yang Guo withdrew her right leg that had taken half a step forward. Brian's voice was very arrogant, and his words were also very annoying. Yang Guo knew that Brian was a big idiot. He didn't know anything, and only knew how to boast about himself. When Brian heard that Poplar Fruit was going to translate for his uncle, the jealousy in his eyes almost burned Poplar Fruit. He couldn't let Poplar Fruit steal the limelight, so he quickly recommended himself to Du Ronghue. Regarding this mission, Brian had also considered it. He felt that a foreigner could not possibly know much about Chinese culture. As a native Chinese, he would definitely be able to fool him. He said that it had to be him, but Yang Guo felt that if she was the boss, even if everyone in the office died, she wouldn't hire him. It would be a big joke to say that a young master who only knew how to drive a car to pick up girls was proficient in traditional Chinese culture. Poplar Fruit did not intend to expose him. Since he was always against him, he would let him have a taste of his own medicine. The other colleagues did not say anything either. Du Ronghue frowned and looked around. He could not wait for anyone else to recommend themselves, so he nodded and let Brian be in charge of this. Although Brian was not very capable, he was still the boss relative. Du Ronghue had no other choice, and he could not openly suppress him. He was just an old subordinate, not the boss, so he had to leave some leeway. There were no problems during the signing of the contract. Poplar Fruit accompanied them throughout the whole process. His clear pronunciation and English with a Native American accent made the old American give him a thumbs up. After signing the contract, the second boss left, leaving the big boss and the old American to open a bottle of red wine to celebrate. Then, the two of them started to chat. The big boss had actually studied in the United States before. Although his English was not very good, he could still communicate well. Poplar Fruit's accompanying translator was mainly to take care of the second boss who did not understand English. Now that the second boss had left, there was nothing for Poplar Fruit to do. He walked out and gently closed the door of the meeting room. At the stairs of the third floor, Poplar Fruit saw a few female colleagues in the department gathered together and whispered. This was not a common situation. Why did they all come out? He walked up and greeted them. Sister Wu. Wu Kaiyan saw him and said, Xiaoyang, you are back? How is it on your side? It's a success. The mission was successfully completed. Why did you all come out? Nothing happened on your side, but we had a problem. A few female colleagues began to talk. Brian could not continue the conversation with the client. That Brian is an idiot. He doesn't know anything and just blindly joined in. Bao Chun-Fong shouted. Wu Kaiyan covered her mouth and said, Fong, lower your voice. She explained to Poplar Fruit in a low voice, Brian was just talking with the client. The client said a poem. In the end, he did not even know who wrote it. He blushed and ran away. He ran away at the last minute. Now, Manager Du doesn't even know how to clean up the mess. Bao Chun-Fong said, It's time to clean up the mess. If I don't go now, I will drag Manager Du down. Poplar Fruit pushed the door and walked in. When Du Ronghui saw Poplar Fruit come in, the stone in his heart finally fell. His general had finally arrived. He quickly introduced Poplar Fruit to the client. The client was not young. He looked to be in his 40s. He wore glasses and looked gentle. He wore a white coat and an emerald bracelet on his left hand. It was very Chinese. Poplar Fruit reached out his hand and said in English, Mr. Smith, welcome to China. Smith also reached out and shook his hand in a friendly manner. He smiled and said, Thank you. Your English is very good, but let's talk in Chinese. I like China very much. Chinese culture is broad and profound. The foreigner spoke in Chinese. Although the intonation was a bit strange, his pronunciation was perfect. It seemed that he had put in a lot of effort. Poplar Fruit smiled and said, Mr. Smith, your Chinese level is very high. If Manager Du didn't mention it, I wouldn't have known that you had never been to China before. I have a Chinese teacher. I was taught by him. Smith beamed with joy. By the way, my colleague just said that you memorized a poem. Can you let me hear it? Maybe I have some understanding of it. Of course. Smith thought for a moment, then recited the poem. The distant Mount Tai shows a dark figure, thick and heavy foundation, supports the shallow high level. If one day, someone takes the reversal of heaven and earth, old traditions, will be met with a landslide. Smith shook his head as he recited the poem. He was very engrossed. However, Poplar Fruit frowned as he listened. This poem sounded very strange, and he had no recollection of seeing this poem before. After Smith finished reciting, he told Poplar Fruit that the poem was not the original. His Chinese teacher read it to him from an English translation and he translated it himself. That made sense. Poplar Fruit chatted with Smith as he searched his memory for a poem that matched the meaning. I like this poem very much. I heard from my teacher that this poet came from the hometown of Confucius. I think this poem can best represent China. Smith told Poplar Fruit that the poem had a very deep meaning. He did not know what the meaning was, so he explained it in English as has, many, messages, implied. It expressed the poet's great ambition to overthrow the feudal system. Poplar Fruit finally matched the poem that had been translated twice with the original. Thinking about the original, Poplar Fruit could not help but laugh. As a result, he was glared at by Du Ronghue. Poplar Fruit told Smith that he remembered who wrote the poem. Poplar Fruit said, "The poet of this poem was a general at that time. His name was Zhang Zongcheng." Yes, yes, yes. It was Zhuang Chongcheng. Smith said in surprise. His speech was not standard. Smith happily chatted with Poplar Fruit as if he had met a soulmate. Poplar Fruit also told him some anecdotes about General Zhang. For example, General Zhang married 23 concubines, his character was wanton, and his mother abandoned him when he was young. However, not only did he not hate his mother, but he also brought his mother back after he became a high-ranking official. Smith and Poplar Fruit chatted happily. Not only did he forget Brian's rudeness, but he also praised the company to his father when he left. When the company was praised, everyone was also honored. After the client left, the company definitely rewarded Du Ronghue and the business department. When Du Ronghue came back, he also praised Poplar Fruit. He conveyed the company's reward. Poplar Fruit's bonus for this month would be doubled, and the others would also receive a bonus of 200 yuan. For a moment, everyone in the business department was jubilant. Brian, who was an eyesore, had already run away in shame. Everyone understood and did not mention him. They were afraid that mentioning him would ruin the atmosphere. Bao Chunfong ran over and asked Poplar Fruit, "Poplar Fruit, what poem did the client just recite?" Poplar Fruit had a smirk on his face as he recited the poem that Smith recited. He asked with a smile, "Does anyone know the original text of this poem?" Du Ronghue smiled and said, "Poplar Fruit, just say it. I saw that you couldn't help but want to laugh. There must be something strange about it." Poplar Fruit seemed to be unable to keep them in suspense, so he said, "This poem was written by a warlord during the Republic of China. Zhang Zongcheng did not study much when he was young. Later on, his poems became popular because his poems were special. Although it was a bit of a show-off, it was really vulgar and cute. The poem just now was called Yu Taishan. The original text was, from afar, Taishan looked black and sticky, thin at the top and thick at the bottom. Like turning Taishan upside down, thin at the bottom and thick at the top." After hearing the original poem, which was even more of a limerick than a limerick, everyone was stunned for a moment. Then they burst into laughter, almost tearing open the office. Bao Chunfong laughed until tears came out. She slapped the table and said, "Why do I feel that the client's translation is better than the original poem?" Poplar Fruit also laughed and said, "Yeah, I didn't dare to tell him the original work. Do you know? I held back my laughter for a long time." Du Ronghue pretended to be serious and said, "We have to learn from Poplar Fruit. We have to be loyal to the business of foreign trade, dare to face the magic of the client, be good at holding back the laughter in our hearts, devote our limited lives to talking nonsense with the client, and contribute our strength in an ordinary position." Du Ronghue's words caused the whole office to laugh again. It had to be said that Du Ronghue's ability to arouse the enthusiasm of his subordinates was very strong. The day's work ended in laughter. Du Ronghue did not arrange for anyone to work overtime today, so Poplar Fruit was able to get off work on time. On the crowded bus, there was almost no place to stand. Poplar Fruit looked at the sunset in the west. After the rain, the sky was dyed with two thin clouds that were faintly golden. The afterglow of the setting sun was reflected on the glass walls of the high-rise buildings. There was an endless stream of cars and pedestrians on the road. It was a busy and orderly scene. Poplar Fruit felt very happy. However, at this time, a phone rang, shattering this moment of peace and making his heart jump again. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.